want to take it to the Volta region now, and when we come back, we'll actually go to the Volta region and do Amewu, what they call the Amewu miracle. We'll try and unravel the Amewu miracle when we return, because we are now learning that when it comes to the region, it's recording as much as 15,764 plus rejected ballots, which, according to some residents who spoke off camera, is worrying. Ivy Setoji joins us right now with more on this. Ivy, this is raising a few concerns in the Volta region, and there's a sheer number of ballots that have been rejected. Tell us more.
Yes, so residents in the region are expressing worry about the rejected ballot. When we were in Ketu North earlier, we realized that lots of ballots were rejected and residents were complaining. And now at the EC office, we realized that the Volta region rejected ballots is 15,764. And now that, according to the residents, is very worrying because they don't know what accounted for that. They don't know what really happened. This has never happened before for the region to record such huge figure of rejected ballots. So that is the complaint. But currently, at the EC office, no one is here. Few journalists are here waiting for the declaration. And then we went through the town. Then earlier, we realized that the whole capital of the region is empty with less activities. The NDC office, we saw about 5 people there. But the NPP office, we realized that huge speakers were mounted with loud music playing, with a few people seated, also waiting. Right now, as we speak, we can hear some sounds coming, like some people are singing and parading the town. The NPP and the NDC in the region are all jubilating because they believe they have won. So both parties are jubilating because they have won. But the issue of the rejected ballots is a worrying one to the people of the region. Evan.
To tell us about is what I'm calling the Amewu miracle in Hohoi, a place that has never been won by the NPP before. Amewu has managed to create what is most likely going to be a blue island there. Give us a sense of why he did, what accounts for this miracle in this area. When you talk to the people understanding the dynamics, any sense of that? Hello, Ivy.
The people in the region think that all they want is development, actually. So in the few years that Amewu has been a minister for the lands ministry and now the energy ministry, he brought some development to the Hokwe. You know, when you go to Hokwe right now, you see a lot of street lights in most of the areas. And these people in that area say that this is something they have not witnessed before. And so all they want is development. So, of course, if Amewu can give them development, why not? So these people voted skirt and blouse. Some of them voted for NPP, of course. Some of them also voted skirt and blouse. When we spoke to them earlier, we were there on Saturday. You see them, they told us that they were going to vote skirt and blouse because all they want is development for Hokwe to be the city that they want. So this accounted, according to them, for the miracle Amewu had in the Hokwe municipality. Obviously, with the things we saw, with the stories, the things just...
Oh, unfortunately, we appear to have lost Ivy Setoji's audio there. But Winston, this Amewu miracle is one that we'll talk about for a long, long time for obvious reasons. The key thing about it for me is just a historic nature off it. It's never happened before. Ivy was talking about the people there making a calculation and saying, what do we want as a people? We want development.
Yeah.
If we vote for the NDC guy, what development do we hope to get? I mean, but if you vote for the energy minister, well, we get development. Because I mean, over the last few years, knowing his intention has pumped in a lot of resources there.
Yes, Evans, he has. And, you know, we did the first ballot box in the Hohoe constituency.
We did.
So we were there, and when you speak to people, they talk about JP. And that's how they call him in Hohoe. JP. They tell you, oh, JP is built this school. Oh, JP helped us get water to this community. Oh, JP constructed what they term as a virgin road to Vlitoji. Now, for Vlitoji, for instance, one of the Vli areas, you have to go through Togo in order to get to Ghana. And remember, during the registration exercise, the EC officials wrote to the presidency seeking authorization to go through Togo because the borders were supposed to be closed in order to get to that community. Now, he started constructing a road for them, go through the whole of the constituency. All the areas have street lights. They have, asphaltic roads. He's building a stadium for the community. He's just done too much. And so the campaign was, this is what I have done for you. Ask yourself, what has the NDC done? Don't just be attached to the NDC because it is the NDC. Flip it this time around and vote for development. And many of his assigns were all over Facebook, social media, consistently reminding the people of the Volta region that it was time for them to actually vote for development and not just attachment to a political party that is taking them for granted.
Well, of course. And it comes back to the point you made about the sophistication of the Ghanaian voter. They voted for John Mahama, but they voted Amewu because they figured, I will get development now. Either you do development in the shortest possible time or development now. And they figured out development now. Amewu is there.
So let's get
it. And he showed us that he can do it. Something Lada Yinini is standing by with his team at Studio 997 to continue this Amewu miracle conversation, I hope. And Raymond Aqua, who knows John Peter Amewu better than most, is there. Something. I'm looking forward to what Raymond's opinion is on what worked for his friend, his good friend Amewu in Hohoe.
So, Raymond, you heard Evans quite clearly. And before Evans came on, we were having the same discussion.
Very much so.
Yes. So how did it go? Particularly when seeking to do the ballot box in this area, Amewu will not be interested.
So for a very long time, and this is a former MC for the area. This is a man who's contested before. He actually had been interested in that particular area for a very long time. Two things. You would think that becoming regional chairman of a party and also becoming energy minister, cabinet minister, being a member of parliament would have been something like not so much of a desirable position because he's risen beyond that. The difficulty, however, was that it appeared he was so committed to the place and the people in a way that he needed to do this for them. Now, it reached a point. He put out even a poster telling them that if it's development that you want, forget about the roads and other things I can do as minister. I will personally pick out individuals from your home and make sure that they get something better doing so that they can take care of the family. And he insisted that families should pick out the people they want him to help. And that's the only way he could help his own community in some ways. That was at the lowest level. Now, for some time, even when they scaled down the 33 electoral areas, it seemed to have worked for him, not against him. I have not seen any parliamentary candidate be interested not only in what he has done on the ground, but also deploy a crack team of experts to do a lot of research on the ground to find out where the bigger spaces for filling in are. So he didn't go in as a man who knows his people and has lived with them and also can come back to them and talk to them. There were several research activities done to engage the people with independent people and find out what they want, find out why they will vote or will not vote for him or vote for any other person, and what his actual chances are. Find out which areas he needed to beef up, campaign, and the activities required. So it's been so many years of love for my people, interest in serving them, and also trying to do the impossible because having to win Hohoe sounded more like impossible. There were people, and it won't be shocking. There were people who told him that you are wasting your resources. This is a complete waste of time. If you want to try up, why don't you move up to somewhere, T and other places where your chances may be better? Even if not from there, they can work out something for you to actually do that. Or come to the cities, come to the cosmopolitan areas where ethnicity might not be a factor at all.
But very clearly, the story is not complete if you do not talk about what had happened as far as the redemarcation or the creation of the regions are concerned, and also the last-minute announcement by the Electoral Commission that said that, the Goan people were not going to be able to participate in the parliamentary elections. They were only going to vote in the presidential. So the people in Lekwe, Lolobi, Akpafu have not participated. And this is where the NDC's candidate came from.
So this is one of the issues that was very important coming in. I was wondering how then the NDC happened to have settled on Professor Margaret Kweku. Because these issues were lingering prior to the creation of the districts. After the creation of the new regions, there were issues that have been there for a very long time. I have interviewed Obeda someone who had actually talked about these issues before. So it would have been not so much of the best of strategic decisions to not know that there was going to be something of this sort in the offing. And in any case, we're talking about majority representation in this case.
Right.
Where she was coming from was obviously the minority, regardless. And there's no way that would have made a major influence on the people. So I'm not sure. Look at the results. It shows you that this was not a campaign of vote for the NPP. This was a campaign of vote for John Peter Amewu, the man you know. This will, in the future, also present its own challenges, whether or not he will continue to be a darling of the people and all of that. But imagine the issue around the resolution of the Akpafu, the Lolobi, and the other things are resolved completely. If they get resolved, ask yourself that question. Will this still be a hindrance to making Amewu continue to be in that position? Now, there's something where people getting fatigued with people who are members of parliament because their expectations probably were not met and their expectations might have been diminished one way or the other. Or the people in and of themselves grew too important that they were not connected with the people again. That may influence going forward what will happen in that constituency. But I actually think the compendium of factors that influences when may not be present in the future.
All right.
They may change depending on what happens. Because, I'm not saying it's gerrymandering. I'm not suggesting it's gerrymandering. I cannot suggest it's gerrymandering. But so many factors go into some of these demarcations.
Right.
To the point that I went to the Supreme Court. And to some people who read between the lines on pure partisan lines, who are what the political scientists will call realpolitik thinking, they can draw a quick line and say, wow, this is to one person's benefit and use, regardless of how you see it.
All right.
The future may not necessarily present the same set of facts. So that's where the difficulty will be.
All right.
Again, on one hand, if you close your eyes to all of this, if you hold all of these factors constant, there is some part we should be very impressed with, that a people chose somebody belonging to a different political party, a political party that stood a very slight chance of winning in that area, purely because they believed in him, purely because he had resources as Minister of State. And let's not forget, there are so many ministers of state who have resources, who are doing virtually nothing in their hometowns, doing virtually nothing in their constituency. Some of them have lost their seats in this case.
That's right.
Some of them are terrible. The people don't represent them in any way. Some of them have not done a quarter of the things that many believe that John Peter Amewu has done in his own constituency. That is different. So maybe going forward, and I remember last year when the political science department brought out their research and challenged the notion that the illegal role of having to be the main person bringing development to your people should be cemented as another role of the member of parliament, since it is being played up anyway. This is different from you are doing an illegality. So we can't extend an illegality purely because you are doing it or make you benefit from it. This is purely to say that we have conceived a Western notion of democracy that ought to be retuned. That people want you, the member of parliament, to play a role as leading their development. You're not the district chief executive, but they want you to play that role. And that's what the conclusion of the political science department was. In this case, can we also look at that being part of it? In any case, if Amewu is no longer minister with resources, what can he do differently?
Interesting.
We saw him as MCE. We saw him as a parliamentary candidate in times past. MCE was during John Kufuor's time. Of course, MCE's resources are not as much as that of the... In between Amewu, Malone and Nipa came in and did some things that got poor votes. Let's be clear. Very terrible votes. So the basis for which Amewu could launch a campaign, he had to start from scratch. Even though he had some pedigree in the area.
Right.
It does appear to me that the combination of factors that favored him may very well be factors that, if you look across the country, they are very peculiar. How many people are cabinet ministers? How many people are able to drive the kind of resources that he's able to drive as energy minister, the very influential position? How many people have the circumstances that he has, being former national regional chairman of a political party, being MCE, and later on becoming minister, and luckily during the time that your party was in power? If all of these elements are removed, Amewu may be naked and may not have the resource and the competence to lead the people of Hohoe, regardless of his personal conviction.
Undoubtedly, he was able to whip up a lot of enthusiasm. And even before the elections, the signs were on the wall that he had done quite a bit by...
You remember General Mosquito's statement?
Yes.
That Amewu may go to heaven, but not be member of parliament for the people.
That's
in...
right. You're right.
in
I remember that now, yeah.
Yes, he said it categorically. That, yes, he may go to heaven, but he will not be a member of parliament for the people in Hohoe.
Right.
That is the difference in the thinking around this particular issue. Because everybody believed, and the NDC was so convinced, that no matter what this guy did, even if he brought heaven to the people, it is that notion I want us to discard. That people are so committed to a political tradition or some thinking that even if it is to their detriment, they'll still vote for it.
Well, we have the Formina example to tell.
Yeah.
In Formina, the president was there, and this MP defied the president. The president had invited him to the Jubilee House for meetings. He ignored the president, and they used that as the biggest weapon against him. So all the NPP bigwigs and party people who went to Formina to campaign kept on drumming to the people that this is a guy who has disrespected your president.
Yes.
And the president went there and told the constituents that you don't have to vote for him.
And you see the attempt to try to drive the guy out of parliament.
He even suggested that if you did, you're not going to get development in your area. Yeah. So vote for the NPP's candidate. And here we are, he has won.
And the people rejected that claim.
Right.
Because it comes down to people considering their interest too. I think we are moving to the point where people are holding directly responsible people they want to elect. They are not going to be influenced by tradition, ethnicity, more than they ought to be influenced by their own interests. Because other factors may play a role.
Right.
They are now going to say that if it is in our interest as a people, we will vote him no matter whose ox is God. In this direction, it will, in fact, if that happens across the country, we will have lots of skirt and blouse situations that a hung parliament is not.
Right.
It's not
so the thing
unreasonable
that,
in the nearest
that the
future.
Ghanaian voter is sophisticated is not flattery. It's not something that does not exist. It's clearly there. The Ghanaian voter is sophisticated.
I think getting sophisticated is what I'll use.
Do you also think that he may have gotten some sympathy because of that rush, the unnecessary haste in getting him out of parliament? There were those who said that, I mean, unless you wanted to punish him, why did you have to do all that?
People believe that it was one of those things that he had disrespected the president, and as executive power is supposed to be, is brought to bear and influence on parliament, because, of course, we know that it's the same government, and virtually they have to all kowtow to the president's whims and
the question of disrespecting the president here simply means
I'll still contest.
You are not listening to the president convincing you not to go ahead.
Yes,
And that
of
is
course.
disrespect.
In fact, you remember the Akwatia situation? In Akwatia, Amase came to say that, well, people including the president and chiefs had actually come to me. That's why I'm no longer going independent. Look at what happened to the seat now.
Yeah.
People are very convinced that if Amase had proceeded to go and contest and represented the NPP, even if she could not speak English, which is not a requirement for going to parliament anyway, because there are still people in parliament who speak terrible English, and we are not complaining. But even if she could not speak English, she was still the people's darling. I thought we knew, and everybody was clear in their mind, that you are a delegated representative for the people if you are elected to represent them.
That's right.
And the voice of the people should matter as the people they choose. The radical, they call it the logical underpinning of that particular ancient thinking, the medieval adage that underpins democracy. It says, what touches all ought to elicit the considered approval of all. So the people who are going to lead you should be determined, their future should be determined by one person chosen by the people. So
There are
that they
actually
submit
those
to
who
that way.
believe that if she had dared, if she had mustered the courage
To go ahead, as even independent.
to go ahead, even as an independent candidate, she most likely could have won the place.
Maybe it will be like the story of Joe Wise in Bekwai. Yes.
Yeah.
There were people who called on him that,
That's
no,
right.
listen, you're a nice guy. You have to take your time. We can give you other things to do.
Right.
He insisted and proceeded. As independent, he won. And the party had no option but to rein him in and bring him on board for him to contest on their seat again. He is first deputy speaker today.
Right, and that brings up an issue. In the circumstance that if it did happen, that the NPP was unable to make the majority, now we do not hear them clearly, I don't know if you have, we do not hear them clearly say that they hold a parliamentary majority. In the press conferences they have held so far, they have made certain statements and made suggestions, but I'm not too sure that I've heard them emphatically declare that they hold a parliamentary majority.
Quite surprisingly. Because that's a claim that the NDC has made boldly.
Right.
That they have not disputed. In fact, the NDC even puts numbers to it. But on the NPP side, there is some caution. You don't see them sensing or sending the same signal about caution on the side of the presidential election. But they seem to suggest that, let's see how things will go. I mean, if they can read between the lines, that would maybe be a problem. So a hung parliament or a parliament that is tilted towards the minority and yet in majority, a parliament that is not that of the president, a parliament that is clearly led by the opposition, is not inconceivable.
The suggestion is that at the moment, incontestably, they may have 137, and that means you don't have a majority.
Yeah.
And so they would need this guy who will now become sort of the kingmaker as far as the parliamentary representation is concerned to make 138, which they need to have the majority. Well, that's another issue that we have to deal with, particularly that the NDC keeps insisting that it has 140, except that it is not putting names to the 140, and that is most important, isn't it?
Because, I mean, listen, we are all looking at the figures. We are also doing our collation. It would have been prudent and giving credence to the claim you are making. Just publish the list. We know the areas that you can say because we also follow. We know in the central region you've won some seats. We know the Cape Coast and other places that you've won. We know the places that was in contest. We know Felix Ofosu-Kwakye might not have won the seat.
Yeah.
We know at Forcing won. We know some of them. We can count. We want to be convinced, and if you want to make a very pleasant statement to the people out there, not pure politicking or with mischief or malice or any of the other things that are not desirable. If you want to send that signal, just publish the list. Let's all take each of them and count. We can cross-check with our figures here. And we do not have a difficulty in corroborating every line of it and saying that, yes, you in the NDC indeed have all of these number of people. But it appears almost mystical. That, in some way, that sounds like there's some credibility challenge when you keep on drumming home, I have a clear majority. And yet, the indication of your clear majority is not there. Not there because you have not provided evidence to back it. It's okay if you're asking us to independently check on our own. But we can't do your job of letting people understand that, and your supporters understand that you clearly have a majority on that. So we all have to assume you have a majority. And their claim is not helped if the NPP also steers away from making a bold claim on Parliament. It's as if the NPP is also quietly acquiescing some way, somehow, to the thinking that, yes, the NDC may be leading, or the NDC is indeed having a majority, by staying clearly away from stating that their claim is false. We have the numbers, and our numbers are indicating that this is it. Or saying to us that on both ends, we should wait for the EC to determine.
We will shortly get there, and as you know, this is your election headquarters, and you can always trust us. There's not been an election year that we have not done this in the most credible way that you deserve to know as citizens of this country. Every election year, undoubtedly, we have brought you the results in a manner that conclusively deals with the question of who has won or who has not won. And of course,
it looks like this year we may be compelled to do a parliamentary listing too.
We have gathered quite a good number of the results so far here at your election headquarters. Our reporters from across the country, all over, every constituency, our reporters have been there. And in our situation room, we have brought you updates, and it won't be long. Very soon, we should be able to put a very, very, very firm, figure on the picture as to what is happening. Of course, we also are waiting on the Electoral Commission that has been certifying the results, although it gave us 5 p.m. To be able to do the declaration. It has postponed that. And at present, we do not know exactly what time it will be able to do so, but we have every indication that it is getting itself in readiness to do so. The NDC just held its press conference, and we understand that the NPP is likely to do similar, as in the NDC, as in John Mahama. And then we understand that Nana Akufo-Addo, we brought you pictures from his residence where Elton John Brobe reported that they are also getting ready for some sort of celebration. Can we look at the statements or the speech as delivered by John Mahama and the NDC General Secretary, Johnson Asiedu Nketia? What do you make of that?
I mean, it looked unplanned. It looked unrehearsed. It also looked a bit unlike the former President John Dramani Mahama. And we know how he speaks. He is predominantly soft-spoken. Some of the words that were used in there sounded more like he was angry. He's been infuriated by some happening. Sounded more like something that had not been written and properly decided upon. I may be completely wrong. But if I have followed the speeches of John Dramani Mahama for a very long time, even the impromptu ones, there's a certain finesse with which you would speak and choose his words. It sounded like he was under pressure to say something. Now,
you say he sounded like he had been infuriated by some development.
Yes,
but he gave you reason for that.
I get you.
So that there is some reason that he says for which he may have been infuriated. He's talking about they have secured a parliamentary majority, and he's saying that the government is using the military to attempt to steal, the victory that they have in the parliamentary majority. And Asiedu Nketia continues to show you that there are specific areas where they know that they have won, but the military or the security is being used in a way that could turn things around illegally. So that's the basis for what you suspect.
In all fairness, I mean, I think it's a departure from the way he does his things. So, and I agree, I mean, this election was with high stakes. He has been a president who was supposed to, or hoped he could have a second term. He had not gotten a second term. He actually had to now fight for it in this election. So there are very serious stakes here. But I would have preferred that he came out a bit more coherent than he did. A bit more John Mahama kind than he did. But to the substance of what he said. Now, he raised very serious issues, and they cannot be downplayed at all. if indeed there's military intervention in the electioneering process at the point where anybody would like to use the military, mindful of the history of the military in this country, it will be most untoward. And I think, and the terrible part is that if the military is being used to do this, who do you cry to?
Have you seen evidence of that?
No, hold on. We saw the videos in one of the constituencies where... Yes, specifically in Techiman, where the military was actually engaged in some hassling with a group. It almost resolved in fisticuffs. And I saw the close contacts, the exchange of engagements, which sounded like somebody was being harassed or the process was being tampered with. I have a difficulty with the deployment of a military to a situation like that. I actually think it's heavy-handed. I actually think that because of your history with military people, there are only specific served situations that should be deployed.
In the situation you reference, they were seeking to prevent the Electoral Commission, officials there from making a declaration. You clearly saw that.
The military people?
No. The party people were seeking to sort of prevent that. And this is why you saw the military intervention to give the Electoral Commission officials the protection they needed so that they could go ahead with such a thing.
I'm not disputing the possibility that you could have the military as part of your security setup. But to have seen them being the predominant on the ground and action there sends signals that could be interpreted the way the former president was trying to put it. Regardless of how this is going to go, I would have preferred that we are all sober about dealing with this problem and that cool heads prevail, and in accordance with the pact that these leaders signed prior to the elections, live by those dictates, because at the end of the day, the heavy political parties and their leaders, they don't lose as much as the ordinary people, the poor people. They are the poor people who end up bearing the brunt of serious atrocities, serious crimes being meted out to them. Some of them will never recover or will never survive some of these things. So regardless of what their intention is supposed to be, and I'm not for a second suggesting that we cannot let the people who feel offended by this process to be protected. And this country, our democracy, it has not developed to the point where we are saying we are one of those full-fledged ones. We are still a democracy marked by only credible elections. That is why we spend so much on elections, and there's so much high stakes in the election. If we lose
for the benefit of the Ghanaian public and international audiences as well, about the ongoing 2020 presidential and general elections in Ghana. And we deem this necessary because, as you have observed in the last, about 1 hour ago, some comments have been made for the first time by a presidential candidate. A presidential candidate. That's candidate John Mahama of the NDC. And the comments that he has just made and thrown out into the public domain at this stage in the election process have the tendency to do a number of things, to endanger public safety, to raise tensions, and even to undermine the sanctity of the ongoing process. And so the government of Ghana believes it's important to make some comments as a government, and that's why we've disturbed your evening. I'm sure you'd have been doing your coverage and doing your analysis in your studios by now. I just want to recap a few of the key comments that candidate Mahama has made this evening, which the government of Ghana believes that he needs to respond to. The first is that, as I mentioned earlier, for the first time, a presidential candidate, is claiming that his party has gained what he describes as parliamentary majority. And then they go into some discussion about electing the speaker and a few other things, but that's a different conversation. But the point is that we have a presidential candidate, who is now publicly making the comment that his party has secured a parliamentary majority. He's also calling on his supporters to jubilate. We clearly understand that to be a dog whistle for people to get out on the streets. That is what is transpiring here. Number 3, he's also making comments to undermine the work of state institutions, including the Electoral Commission and the military. And the government needs to respond to these at this particular moment. He's also making comments aimed at attacking the work of the Ghanaian media in this election, attacking your reportage and your analysis and other things that you are doing. And we think it's important that these matters are responded to right now, especially at this time in the election. And he's making false allegations that the military of the Republic of Ghana is involved in efforts to change results and subvert the will of the Ghanaian people. So we will speak specifically to some of these issues, and then we will take questions and respond to them. Now, first of all, the claim by candidate Mahama that his party has won parliamentary majority is false. That claim is false. Anybody who has followed Ghana's electoral process knows that there are returning officers at the 275 constituencies. That's different from the returning officer for the presidential election. These returning officers collate the results and make a formal declaration of who has won the constituency. The Ghanaian media is littered across all 275 constituencies and their collation centers. You are the ones who are reporting this election. If indeed anybody has gained 140 seats in parliament by now, you will know. Wouldn't you know? You will clearly know. So we do not think that, first of all, it lies in any candidate's mouth. Yes, we understand the political parties and their campaigns throw out numbers and explain where they are in their own coalition, etc. We've seen pictures from both sides and press tours. But a claim by Mr. Mahama that his party has won parliamentary majority is false. You, the media, are observing at all the 275 coalition centers across the country. And I'm sure you yourself can confirm, as at now, that they do not have a parliamentary majority. So it is important that at this point in time, this claim be shut down so that the Ghanaian public, some of whom may be going to bed tonight, the international community listening, doesn't start getting that idea that Mr. Mahama's party has won a parliamentary majority. I think the figures, as are being collated by the Electoral Commission and being declared, are quite clear. The last one I saw the media putting out, not what we the parties have, the media putting out, was about 227 constituencies. And the details were there about who has won what. So please do not be deceived by any candidate, especially candidate Mahama at this point in time, that his party has won parliamentary majority. That's item number one that we need to tell the people of Ghana and the international community about. Item number two is a dangerous matter. This dog whistle to supporters by the candidate that they should jubilate. And we are clear. This is a dog whistle to people to get out on the streets and jubilate. Now, first of all, we are happy that this call has largely not been heeded by the Ghanaian public. As you monitor the countryside, largely, this call has not been heeded. Because the Ghanaian people are discerning and can see through some of the games on election night that candidates play. But we think it must be categorically said that it is utterly irresponsible and it flies in the face of good conduct and even the peace pact that the candidates signed a few days ahead of the election. I want to show you the true nature of some of these candidates. The peace pact that the candidates signed, I think President Akufo-Addo, Mr. Mahama, I think there were other parties that got a rep or so to sign, witnessed by the Chief Justice of the Republic. It says that you acknowledge and you commit to the following. A, that the remaining rounds of campaign sequel to the general election shall be conducted with decorum. B, that we shall monitor and keep in check the excesses of our supporters as and when they get out of line. Now you have candidates rather egging their supporters on after they have signed this peace pact, egging their supporters on to jubilate. And I'm explaining to you that nobody is a kid in this country. That is dog whistle for get out there and, celebrate. They go on. That they hereby commit themselves and supporters to continue to conduct their campaigns in a peaceful manner, that they undertake to accept the results of the election and concede to the winner accordingly. Then they commit to a number of things in it. After signing this, you now have candidate Mahama himself, not his campaign or his party. Those ones, you understand the party portion. But now you have the candidate himself asking his supporters that they have a right to jubilate. And like I've said to you, it's a dog whistle for asking them to go out. We want to, as a government of Ghana, strongly urge all candidates to desist from such conduct. It has the potential to raise tensions, to heighten anxiety, and most importantly, it will leave your supporters severely disappointed if and when an eventual loss is occasioned for you. And so we think that the responsible thing to do as a government at this point in time is to call it out and let the public know, don't fall for that. Item number 3. As you are aware, Ghana has had about 8 successful elections since the 1992 Constitution was rolled out. The Electoral Commission has a proven track record of successfully conducting elections. This EC has come under a barrage of criticisms from this particular candidate. But as we can all attest to, so far, the exercise of this election has generally, the part conducted by the EC has generally been smooth. No candidate should at this stage get into this exercise of seeking to undermine the work of the EC. It is most irresponsible, and it would endanger the peace of this country. Now, another matter we're looking to is the attack on the media. Again, if you listen to the candidate's commentary, and the commentary by, I think, the General Secretary of his party immediately following afterwards, they are now attacking the Ghanaian media, that you are now in the business of churning out fake results. I'm sure you heard that you are now in the business of churning out fake results. Everybody knows that the media in Ghana, independent, experienced in observing elections at collation centers, does the simple exercise of bringing in the numbers and doing the analysis. And this election, let's commend the Ghanaian media. Many of you have invested in software that allows you to do interesting analysis, do comparisons, etc. You are beginning to notice, just like what the outgoing president of the US of A has been doing. Candidate Mahama is now suggesting that the numbers that the Ghanaian media are churning out and the collation that the Ghanaian media is beginning to do, which you have done in previous elections, are false and are fake. And we think that, again, it is important to call it out. This is not the first time that you see a candidate begin to make such allegations when they know something that maybe the rest of the population don't know. And that's why I cited the example of the US, where the US president, who is outgoing now, consistently been attacking the media as being fake news, enemies of the people, etc., etc. We're beginning to observe a bit of it here. And we think it's important not to let it slide, but to draw your attention to this. Now, again, another claim is being introduced into the conversation, and it's important to draw the country's attention to it, that Mr. Mahama's party says that it has won majority of the regions, and therefore it can extrapolate that it ought to win the presidential election. For the avoidance of doubt, we need to remind everybody of what the rules of engagement are and what the facts are. The rules of engagement is in Article 63, Clause 3 of the Constitution 1992. And I'll read you just a little bit of it. It says, a person shall not be elected as the president of Ghana unless at the presidential election, the number of votes cast in his favor is more than 50% of the total number of valid votes cast at the election. It has absolutely nothing to do with the regions that you claim or you purport to have won. The constitutional provision of who wins a presidential election is in Article 63, Clause 3. Please take time and read it and educate the Ghanaian public. That if any candidate comes to tell you that he thinks that he has won a region which he thinks is big, therefore he should be the next president, or a collection of regions. Ghana's election is not an electoral college like what happens in the US. Ghana's election, in accordance with Article 63, Clause 3, is simple. You have to win 50% plus 1 of the votes for the presidential election. And so please, this misinformation or disinformation that is being introduced into the Ghanaian election as it goes on is important that we call it out so that the general public does not fall for it and begin to correlate that, oh, therefore, if this person wins X number of regions, then he should be declared president. No, there's an exercise for doing that, and that exercise, we understand, is being done by the Electoral Commission. In conclusion, the Electoral Commission has proven, I think, over the last 8 elections, it has the capacity to do that which it's doing. We want to urge the general Ghanaian population and all other stakeholders to remain calm, to remain vigilant, yes, and to follow the EC's processes and the updates that the EC will give us, and not be moved by comments now by a presidential candidate to do otherwise. And this is what we believe the government ought to put out at this stage in the election tonight. I'll do a quick summary in tree, and then I will take your questions. If we're in church, I will say, and you are normally adofo. And you may, Yadamo Sessa Monia Brenna, Moshia, and Wahasi. Namum, your friend Waha, and Sembe, Munumi, and Sabi. Mifia say, no, Michiremu say, the Intia, Mena Mijana Hakasani say, many Minister of Information. But Abatwe, Mizunami, a candidate. Kasa make an enye parties and assembly maker. Ghana buying ena air Kasa, NSC, so say me, and I mean Kasa Magana buying. The Intia, you bring Ghana buying any or my needing common say, presidential candidates ne bako, Yewura Mahama. Ababo ntinya be central phone shim be donhwere bako ni fa ana be donhwere bako ni. No ke kansem bi ansem no aban susu enye NPP party aban and the entire meeting ne say there's a difference between me as candidate and me as Minister of Information. Ghana aban susu say we say ye ka ho asem bi. Or say ono ne party enye majority of parliament. Or say ne supporters emfiase enyomani eno e kasakwa de o kan so omuntin singu krom enji omani nye dede se omadi nkonim o say EC no e kataso muamuaso asesa election results no na soldier for crampo ka ho bi na onim Ghana bakosem nsem we say be yentoto na say ensem a wotepe e wo say yetu eho anamo na say na Ghana ban ese wo sansem we ho de di kan say presidential candidate be anase Yewura Mahama as any party winning parliamentary majority pacho e mogo sabre the entire mogo ni say Ghana parliamentary elections there were returning officers for 275 collation centers more central phone na more nkofo 275 collation centers obi obedi nkunim bi ha mo na mbo ho dewuru anabeboa enti say sabre so obi a winning parliamentary majority 140 a senka ba na mo kan ama ye nyina ayate Mumpo amowo 275 obi de otifi on de hu ye ba mo amowo 275 collation centers no mo krampo mu hu ye nkan ti se kan enye dede nyi omani no se ukan peace pact na anu ya omoko sign wo na campaign na moving pick Yewura Mahama Mampani Akufo-Addo the chief justice o nyina de omsabe sha ase ese sabre ya ye kwa koto abe na se abato brese eniem bia wachitafo krampo ya ebetumi di oye ni aba no wo krampo no wo de wonsa shekrata ase se wo betu omfo ahwema o mate asan mo ma anye sade se se de Yewura Mahama na one ne mpanimfo hye o machitafo kutupa se o monte insikrum de ye den se o mo kan no se o de wani hwe krum a obi an hye den ne akire ye boga na fo aba so nemom e wo se ye bo mo kokko se sabre isi mpanimfo ke ko mo ne ma bom no so obi petu be catcher candidate petu be catcher say tisi krom ye a emu ayuram kakra isan say ebetumi e detention akosoro yeti asese campaigns mienu na woman na we afre central for na we afre central for no obi aka na sem na say afi candidate na nkasa be kasa no ana say ntinka we okan na nka o Mampani Akufo-Addo ana say obi fufo so candidate ne kasa
the military, they've used their vigilantes, in some cases they've used the police to try and subvert the will of the people. But in all cases, they have not succeeded. We have seen that they have put out some fictitious figures from last night, which keeps on changing. Indeed, our people in the strong room are also comparing our pink sheets and declaration sheets with that of the Electoral Commission, and already we have identified that they are bringing in fake declaration sheets. It is important to make this point, that the point we have gotten to, nobody, absolutely nobody, can steal the mandate of the people. And it is our collective responsibility to rise in protection of our mandate and of the sovereignty of our people. And this action, we are going to align specific steps that would undertake to protect the sovereign will of the people. But having spoken about the presidential results, the presidential results are not in isolation. It comes with an overwhelming majority in parliament. And as you may be aware, when you win the parliamentary, it tells you simply that there is a direction of the thinking and the resolve of the people. And the direction of the thinking and resolve of the people is what has given us this important, sweet victory for President John Dramani Mahama. For the benefit of the doubt, and for the benefit of the misled media who are publishing fake results and pursuing this nefarious agenda on behalf of government, I would want to go through some of the parliamentary seats that we have won. And I will start with that of Greater Accra. Technicians, kindly project the Greater Accra parliamentary seats, the one that comes with the figures. So in all, we have won 20 seats in Greater Accra. This is a major feat because, as you may be aware, Greater Accra is a swing region, and hardly can any political party be able to win significant seats of 20 out of 34. These are the constituencies that we have won in Greater Accra. Uncontestable, declared. No question about that. You see Ada, we won. You would see we won Sege. Ningo Pram, we won. Konkatamanso, we won. Sai Osudoku, we won. Tema East, we won. Ashaiman, we won. Krowo, we won. Kole Klote, we won. Ladade Kotopon, we won. Ayawasu East, we won. Ayawasu North, we won. Okaikwe North, we won. Madina, we won. Adenta, we won. Domia Braubom, we won. Ablekuma Central, we won. Ablekuma South, we won. Lejokuku, we won. Almighty Odododiodio, we won. These are the results from the Greater Accra region. Now let's look at the Eastern region. That is supposed to be the stronghold of the NPP. Esujaman in the Eastern region, we won. Upper Menya Krobo, we won. It will not appear on the screen, but you can follow my lead. Yilo Krobo, we won. Akwetia, we won. Afram Plains North, we won. Afram Plains South, we won. Ayensuano, we won. Lower Manya, we won. So in all, in Eastern region, we won 8 solid seats. Now to the Bono region. In the Bono region, we won 6 seats out of the 12. Jamai North, we won. Doma West, we won. Banda, we won. Tyne, we won. Jamai South, we won. Wenchi, Almighty Wenchi, we won. This is the home constituency of their founder, Dr. Buzia. We won Wenchi. Tell me that we are not winning these elections. Now in the Bunu East, out of the 11 constituencies, we won 9. So we won Techiman North, we won. Pru East, we won. Kintampo North, we won. In Kranza South, we won. In Kranza North, we won. Sydney East, we won. Sydney West, we won. Atebubu Amantin, we won. So these are the constituencies we won in the Bono East region. Now let's look at Ahafo. Ahafo has 6 constituencies. We did Chimpe in Ahafo. We won 3 and they won 3. We won Esutifi South. No, in Ahafo we won 2. We won Esutifi South and we won Esunafo South. In the central region, almighty central region, as you may be aware, is one of the key swing regions. And that is where the incoming vice president or the vice president-elect is coming from. In 2016 central region, we had 4 seats. Now, from this election, we have won a super massive quantum size of the number of seats, which is 23. And we won 13 out of 23. So you may want to take down the notes. Ekumfi, we won. Upper Denchira West, we won. Asen North, we won. Ewutu Senya West, we won. Cape Coast North, we won. Chifu Etimokwa, we won. Esikuma Odobin Brakwa, we won. Gomua West, we won. Keyiye, we won. Ejumaku Enyai Esiam, we won. Cape Coast South, we won. Gomua East, we won. And Aguna East, we won. This constitute 13 seats in the central region. Now, Western region, almighty Western region, they call it their stronghold. We won 8 seats out of the 17 seats. Amenfi West, we won. Amenfi Central, we won. Amenfi East, we won. Pristiahuni Valley, we won. Jomoro, we won. Elembele, we won. Evaluejura Ajomoro, we won. Wasa East, we won. This is central Western region. We had 8 solid seats in the Western region. Now, Western North region, the Seshi area, there are 9 constituencies in the Western North region. We won 7 out of the 9. That is overwhelming victory of the Western North region. Seshi also, we won. We have since heard that they are trying to surreptitiously get the military men to get the EC to recount a results that has already been declared. And we are ready for them, waiting for them there. They should go. And there. Duaboso, we won. Bodi, we won. Swamai, we won. Awin, we won. Bia West, we won. And Bia East, we won. This constitutes 7 constituencies out of the 9. Now, almighty Ashanti region, they said we were going to lose the 3 seats that we had. But this election has shown that the resolve of the people cannot be taken away from them. We won 4 major seats in the Ashanti region. Ejura Sechiro Dumase, we won. Sechiro Afram Plains, we won. Asawase, we won. And New Edubiase, we won. So out of the 47 seats in the Ashanti region, we won 4. Bear in mind that there was an independent candidate from Fomina who also won. So you can do the mathematics and see what the becomes of the opponent's votes in the Ashanti region. Savannah region. There are 6 constituencies in the Savannah region. 7 constituencies in the Savannah region. We won 4, and that is majority seats when you consider Savannah region alone. We won Sola Tuna Kaba. We won Bole Bamboy. Salaga South. We won. Yape Kusogu, we won. That comes up to 4 seats in the Savannah region. I'm sure you are doing the mathematics. Now, the northern region. The northern region has 18 seats. We did champion in the northern region. We won 9 seats out of the 18. Pandai, we won. Wulensi, we won. Saboba, we won. Savelugu, we won. Bear in mind that these first 4 constituencies that I've mentioned was originally held by the NPP. So these are flipped constituencies. Tamale Central, we won. Kumbungu, we won. Sagnerugu, we won. Tamale North, we won. And Tamale South, we won. That is the seats that we are holding in the northern region. Now, in the Upper East region. The Upper East region has 15 constituencies. We won supermassively, garnering 14 seats out of the 15. This, we believe, is monumental, and it tells a story. China Paga, we won. It's a flipped constituency. Navrongo, we won. It's a flipped constituency. Busa South, we won. Busa North, we won. Bongo, we won. Bolga Central, we won. Bolga East, we won. Nabdam, we won. Garu, beyond all the challenges, we won supermassively. Timpani, we won. The Deputy Attorney General, Minister for Attorney General and Justice has fallen. Penka, he's falling very flat at Timpani. So Timpani, we won. Pusiga, we won. Boko Central, we won. Talensi, we won. Zabila, the man has returned. Honorable Cletus Avoka. Now, this comes up to 139 seats. As we all know, Techiman South, which we originally won, they have sent military men, they have threatened the EC officer, they've created chaos, they've shot 3 people. I hear two are dead, 7 are in critical conditions, which means that they shot even more than 3 people. They created chaos. They at gunpoint, they had to get the Electoral Commission to re-collate the results and re-engineer the results in the favor of the NPP. Let me make this point very emphatically, without equivocation, that we are going to pursue Techiman South to the hilt. We have won that seat, and no matter what we will do to get the writing and the mandate of the people of Techiman South to be respected by the Electoral Commission, we are going to do that. They have since done same in Takwa constituency. Takwa Swayemu is a constituency we know we won. We won supermassively. All pink sheets were available. Only for us to wake up, they have sent military men and policemen at gunpoint, threatening the returning officer, and he has declared them winners of that constituency. They recounted the constituency 5 times. And I'm sure most of you are very abreast with the laws of election. If you want any recount, you can do any number of recount at the polling station level. If at a point, the officer, the presiding officer, decides that he can't count anymore, he will make you fill a form, which will be attached to the box. Then when it gets to the collation center, it will be counted. So the law stipulates clearly that at the collation center, you do not do any counting of ballot papers. But we have the case whereby with the use of brute force, with the use of illegal brute force, they got the presiding officer at the Takwa and Swayem constituency to breach the law, to breach the CI 127, to count that ballot box 5 solid times. Each of the 4 times that they counted, the NDC was winning. Until finally they did another counting and there was magic. Ballot papers came from nowhere. and the NPP have won that constituency. We are making this point clear that we are not accepting that resource in Tarkwa and Swahim constituency, because for the first time, the people of Tarkwa and Swahim have spoken, and they've spoken very loud on behalf of the NDC, and they gave that seat to us. So we are going to pursue every means possible to make sure that the true will of the people of Tarkwa and Swahim prevails. Having said that, it is clear that the NDC has won majority seats in Parliament. And we are all well good to form a majority side of Parliament with a speaker and with a majority leader. Ladies and gentlemen, you are asking about Upper West, OT and water. In fact, OT, we won 100%. All the 9 constituencies, all the 8 constituencies, we won everything. OT was 100%. Then Upper West, out of the 11 seats, we won 9 out of the 11. Is it 9 or 8? 8 out of the 11. So that tells you the strength, the support that the people of this country has given to the NDC in this all-important election. As we said, we were on a rescue mission. And this rescue mission runs at the core of the survival of the very existence of our own beings. And for that matter, that is why everybody got involved in this election, voted supermassively for President John Dramani Mahama and our parliamentary candidates. Let me use this opportunity to thank all Ghanaians, our supporters, our polling agents, our coalition agents, the international observers, the local observers, the media, for the support that you gave us in delivering this most successful campaign and most successful and sweet victory in the 2020 elections. We are very gratified by the support. We are gratified by the vigilance that our people continue to exhibit on the field. But let me make the point very clear. It is not over until it is over. It is not over until we compel Jean Mensah and the Electoral Commission to let the true will of the people prevail. So whilst at it, it is important that as they've started mobilizing state security and off-state security to threaten returning officers, to threaten EC officials, to get them to change results, we must show them that the power of the people has always reigned supreme. And for that matter, no amount of guns, no amount of weapons, no amount of intimidation, no amount of order from above will prevail beyond the power of the people. And the only way, ladies and gentlemen, that we can exemplify the power of the people is to mass up in our numbers, in our multitudes, at the coalition centers where they are finalizing the coalition, whether regional level, constituency level, or national level. We would open our eyes, we would increase our lenses of vigilance, we would follow through. Already, we have caught them. They have tried to smuggle some unusual pink sheets into the coalition center at the National Coalition Center. And our agents there have exposed them. We shall continue to be vigilant. We shall ensure that the true will of the people will prevail. We shall resist in no uncertain terms and without equivocation any attempt by the President Akufo-Addo government to suppress the will of the people, to subvert the will of the people, to steal the mandate of the people with criminal collusion with the EC. Let me repeat. We shall resist. In no uncertain terms, we shall resist. I'm stating without equivocation that we shall resist any attempt by the Electoral Commission and President Akufo-Addo to steal the mandate of the people. Whilst at it, let me use the opportunity to call on the outgoing president, President Akufo-Addo, to ask a matter of
up here. This is our continuing coverage. We're going to be here until the die is cast. Of course, I'm here with Samson Ladi. Samson, it's good to see you. It's been a while since we sat down like this.
That's true.
And I'm here also with Raymond Aqua, the returnee. Raymond, you're welcome back.
I went on a surgeon.
Oh. Anyway, so you just had the Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah list a few things, raise some concerns. You also had the NDC's Otukuno raise some concerns. This is Editors Forum, and we'll be talking about the issues. We'll be discussing it, giving you perspectives, and then of course we'll give you some food for thought. So Mr. Nkrumah essentially says he's raising concerns about Mr. Mahama's comment. He held a press conference not so long ago saying that people should be vigilant. We're not ready to accept flawed results. This is something he has said before. Kojo Nkrumah is saying that if indeed the NDC has the 140 seats that it says it has, it should have been announced at the coalition centers. The media at the coalition centers would have picked it up already. He said that they signed a peace pact. And it includes the fact that you are not supposed to be inciting your followers, which is what he thinks Mr. Mahama is doing at the moment. He says that the comment Mr. Mahama has passed has the potential of inciting people. Let me start with you, Samson, on your thoughts on what the Information Ministry has just said, and then we'll move on to talk about the issues that the NDC is raising about the results.
While the manner in which the President Mahama presented what he had to say could have been, managed. I think the response is also unwarranted in the manner that it is made. Among others, in the response, all of us, citizens and the media, are sort of being educated as to what it takes to win a presidential, to win as a president. I'm sure that we know that too well. And, among other things, did he say or he suggested that President Mahama was irresponsible in the manner in which he made those remarks? In that regard, that's why I'm saying that it does appear that his response, very frankly, he could have given his response without seeking to directly attack, the former president.
Is that how you see it? Because I think the point he was making was that you can organize a press conference as a political party and raise some of these concerns, but he's saying it shouldn't be coming from the presidential candidates.
He can't determine that for them. He can't make that decision for the former president. And I'm sure that if anybody had tried to do that, to sort of dictate for President Akufo-Addo, he would be the very first to say, how dare you? You get it. Now, like I said, myself and Raymond were earlier discussing the content of what President Mahama had said, and also Johnson Asiedu Nketia, had added. And we clearly were of the view that they could have been a bit more measured in the way some of the statements were presented. Raymond has suggested that he found that former President Mahama appeared infuriated. And so I was asking that, did he present a justification to be infuriated? Because if he says, and we need to ask ourselves if what he's saying is backed by the evidence, that there has been some military that have been put out there and they are seeking, to intimidate, or in the process also seek to, as he says, steal the elections from the NDC.
Wouldn't
because
you need
they
a
had
bit
won.
more facts or factual basis to be able to draw that conclusion?
Right. So if the one who is making that claim, you demand and they're able to supply you the evidence for what they're saying, then you clearly would say that they may have a point. But nonetheless, we have made the point here that they could have been measured. Yes, they say that they have won some parliamentary seats. And winning the parliamentary seats is a basis to celebrate. Because why? They have won. And when they win, they can celebrate. Those who have won the parliamentary seats in the NPP, those in the NPP who have the results and know that from their tabulation so far, President Akufo-Addo has been retained, are entitled to celebrate as well. They are absolutely entitled. There is nothing that stops them from, rejoicing in the outcome of the efforts that they have put in. However, we all know that by law, we cannot say anybody has been declared a winner of the elections unless the Electoral Commission says so.
Okay.
I am sure that it won't be long. The election headquarters will give a firm figure as to where we are and may be able to project clearly who it is that may be heading for the presidency. But that's still not a declaration. So whilst both parties are entitled to, as it were, speak to the results that they have, it is the reason that independent analysts and independent coalition, entities like the election headquarters would also supply what we have to do. And we know that a lot of people, many people are watching and listening and are waiting for the election headquarters to tell them where we are.
Okay.
So I say, perhaps all of them need to take a certain posture. Now you see that right after Kojo Nkrumah, you have Otokono also coming on and using language that clearly is not the language you want to hear.
I'll come to Otokono. I'll come to the NDC's press conference, and then we'll tackle it. But to wrap up with what Mr. Mahama said, what General Mosquito said, and the response we're getting from the ministry, Raymond, do you find it problematic that even though the NDC says they've won, they won 140 seats, that they try to say consistently that there is a correlation between the number of seats you get and the fact that you may have won the presidency? I mean, how do the two connect?
Two things. First and foremost, you can win parliamentary seats and not win presidency. People voted in separate booths for each of these elections. People change their minds on who to vote for president and decide not to vote for the same person's party or representative when it comes to parliamentary elections. Exactly. So it might be logically flawed, not inconceivable.
Okay.
Logically flawed, that merely because you have won, and assuming that you've won parliamentary elections in an area, you win presidential elections. 2012, I also West Wuogon is an example. The NPP won the parliamentary elections. Then John Dramani Mahama won the presidential elections with a difference. 2020, this year, Hohoi constituency, as we have it, is an example. The NDC won the presidential elections.
Yes, in the constituency.
Yes, the NPP, and I can give several examples of skirt and blouse. Because, in fact, that's the entire conception of skirt and blouse. That the skirt is white or blue, and the blouse is green. NDC. So it is not necessarily the case that merely because you seem to have had more seats in parliament, you've won the presidential election. Because people change their minds all the time. So we should not stop. I don't think that's the point they want to make, because, I think they know better. I think every politician, mindful of having been experienced in the elections and understanding these systems, will not be able to confuse people that way.
But at this point, they are addressing their base.
Okay, so... No,
they're addressing the entire country.
So I am telling the base that it is not reasonable. It is factually inaccurate to presume that merely because you've won more parliamentary seats, you've won presidential seats too. I don't know if you get my point.
I get your point, which is why I'm asking, is it problematic to communicate this?
I think whilst it is reasonably logical to have that expectation, we are not in that business at this time. At this time, it is the data that must speak.
That's true. Yeah.
What do the results, do the absolute numbers and the percentages say? Rather than, because I think I am winning parliamentary majority,
automatically
it must logically follow that I will win the presidential. I'm saying clearly that's a logic that is reasonable to expect. But at this time, we are dealing with the facts and the figures,
which they should be to supply to back the claim that you are making.
Exactly.
And they should not leave room for that kind of conversation, or don't make it at all. Because you create doubt, you create some kind of thinking that if any other outcome, not necessarily in sync with what you really stated there, happens, people following you who might not think that the facts are being presented elsewhere would believe and swallow hook, line, sinker what you have said.
And that's why I highlighted this part of the conversation.
Political parties ought to be more responsible than that.
Check what the NPP has done. The NPP appears to have improved on what it did in 2016 in its situation room. They have a sophisticated mechanism that through which they have used to collate their own results. They have their people who are in all the constituencies, in all the polling stations. They have picked the figures from them. And they say, we have inputted these figures and we are working with them. I think if the NDC is making a similar argument,
it should come with that kind of data. They should be
showing the data that backs the claims they make. Of course, people will ask, well, we are sitting here and we are also collating the results.
Yeah.
We are not saying what they are saying. So you shouldn't be asking me to back up what they have said.
So I'm raising this issue because of the communication, and we've had the consistency with which this communication has come. We had General Mosquito, we had the former president, and now we've had Otukunon. That's the third public engagement in what? Less than, I think about
12 hours.
In less than 12.
No, but before that, Elvis Free Ankara, Adon had spoken about how
actually there was one at exactly 12 midnight, and there was another one after 4. So
yeah, so I'm looking at the consistency of this message and how it impacts on the behavior of the followers of this party. Do you think at this point that a group like, say, the Christian Council or the Peace Council should be calling a group like the NDC leadership to should be calling the attention to this? I mean, it's not unusual to see these press conferences in an election year when we have such elections. But I'm wondering, could we do something about this consistency and the trend we're beginning to see?
If I may, one point. I actually do not think that merely speaking about what you expect and all of that is more problematic or big of an issue.
Okay.
Except you are deliberately inciting people, mindful of the fact that what you're saying and you know is falsehood. I think it's a responsibility you owe to the rest of us, not to put out falsehood deliberately.
Oh, we know political parties will do anything for opposition.
That's my problem, that kind of thinking, that kind of Machiavellian positioning, it's not something that I think should happen now.
You're talking the ideal situation.
No, no. I'm making the point that, for example, but I do not think it's extraordinary. I do not think it has reached the point where we will need the Christian Council and allied groups to come out and say that don't issue any statements at all. Because sometimes their statements are coded for certain groupings and maybe the differences with which we perceive
you seem to have a different opinion on this.
Now, let me tell you something. I mean, to those who feel this is very objectionable, I wonder how they responded to these words. We know we won the election. We are not going to retreat from this decision, and that we are not accepting the results that was declared, and this is the official position of the party. We have seen a lot of things which shows that there are miscalculations of the results of the election. So the party has left everything in the hands of our lawyers. The laws which govern the nation, called the Constitution, indicate that if you have a problem with the results, the presidential elections, you can go to court and do all the things you have to do.
Who are you quoting?
Hear from, I am quoting current president Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo in 2012 at Obrasport.
So it's not new.
I do not see that statement and this statement markedly different.
Okay, let's come to the evidence.
Gifty, so you asked me the question and he answered.
Sorry.
You see, you cannot expect the central stakeholders in this business to sit, fold their arms, and watch, and listen to the media. You can't expect them to do that, okay? And I think that we do not even have the right to suggest to them that they should do otherwise. When we are doing what sometimes the EC itself is not excited about, even though they should be embracing it, because we help to bring credibility to the process. In America, they just finished their elections. There's no EC to announce that this has won, this person has won, or the other person has won. It is the media that put all the results that had been certified at various points together.
But they're still waiting for an official declaration.
And simply did the projections, okay? Now, if we are doing so, then we do not have the right to say that they who have sort of a bigger stake, quote unquote, they who have invested money in that process do not have the right to do so. What they are not to do is to say that I have won and declare themselves as president-elect, or like Otokono said a while ago, vice president-elect and president-elect. That's not their business. They are not supposed to do so. The law provides that the EC is the one entrusted with that job. But my point is that even where they want to make a projection, they should be speaking to the facts, speaking to the figures, rather than just come and make a commentary.
Okay.
That is not good enough. And where they are also going to speak, what is the necessity for intemperate language? What is the necessity for it? I don't see why that becomes necessary.
Okay.
If you feel that something is going wrong somewhere, clearly you are entitled to say so, and there's nothing wrong with that. The question about they have is it signed to a pact?
Yes.
And because he has signed to a pact, you are not supposed to be heard to do what? Yeah. To say that something is going wrong?
The point he made was, the Okojo-Oppong Nkrumah made was that you've signed a pact, and part of it is to not incite your followers to violence. He believes that what Mr. Mahama said amounts to inciting the party's followers to, get out there, and he says, well, that's not even happening anyway. You leave it there.
I don't want to say anything.
You leave it there. Okay. Okay. So let's just talk briefly about the point that they make, the NDC makes at this press conference. They say that they have 139 seats so far, and they take the time to break it down and actually list them. So I try to catch a number of it. 20 in Accra, they say, and they have they've actually mentioned the constituencies. They have, they list 8 in the eastern region, which is of course a stronghold of the NPP. They list 6 in the Bono region, then they list 9 in Bono East. They list 3 in Ahafo, 13 in the central region, 8 in the western region. Let me see if I'm missing anything. And 7 in the western north region. They go on to talk about the Ashanti region, where they say they won 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. That's a Setra Farm Plains, a Sawase, a New Edubiase. 4 also in the Savannah region, they say. Then 9 in the northern region, most of which they say they flipped. Then 14 in the Upper East region. They put all these together. They talk about the Upper West, and then they say 9 in OT region. They put all together and they say, if you look at it as it stands now, 139. Based on our own calculation of how many seats you need in Parliament to be able to claim that you have the majority, are they accurate in this assertion that they make?
So, the list they have provided.
Yes.
In a very short time, we will be confirming what are the certified constituency results.
Okay.
Of course, if you go on our webpage, we have also put up a good number of the certified results. We know that there are a couple of the constituencies that are under some contest. You hear the NPP speak and give themselves the opportunity of waiting to have those constituencies that are under some sort of contest, resolved. So you heard John Boedu earlier speak and say, we have this number of seats at these places. However, we do not want to speak to these other constituencies because we know that there is a certain contest. The NDC is reluctant to use similar language because, as you hear Otokono speak, in the Techiman, one of them is North.
Techiman North.
Their belief is that they have won, but there are attempts to steal, their victory. And so
Techiman South.
Yes, Techiman South. So they will not use similar language to say we would rather want to wait and have any issue completely resolved. On that score, from the numbers that they are churning out, if it turns out that indeed all of these have in fact been declared for them, I think all you need at this time is 138 to form a majority. And when they do the Ashanti region permutation, they tell you about Famina, who is an independent.
Independent, yes.
Okay, an NPP man who has now, who was ousted because he decided to go independent. He didn't listen to, as it were, he spawned good counsel, and then eventually they got him ousted and he's won back. So they make all these calculations and say that eventually they will be holding this number, but they are setting that they will have 140. 140 is more than majority. If they have 140, then they have a good majority. That's what they are saying.
Yeah.
And you can see that for a certain period now, they're excited about that sort of opportunity because it gives them, the right to determine the Speaker of Parliament, the Majority Leader, and the questioning of deputies in that house. And we know that nothing, secures legal approval, more particularly in spending, as in the public purse, without recourse to Parliament. And it does look like that is what, at this point, they seem to yearn to get. But the point is, why can't they wait just a bit?
I think that we can spend a little bit of time to talk about that scenario where you have an executive that doesn't have the majority in Parliament. I think that will be historical for us here in Ghana.
It will be an experiment that you may not want to think about.
Why not?
Because of what we have known our politics to be. It's a politics of loyalty. It's a politics of party loyalty, and oftentimes even above loyalty to the state. So if you do not toe the party's line, you are out of line, and you could suffer. We have seen PC Apiofori, people like that suffer simply because they want to disagree with their own party. We have seen in the NDC, what was his name? Was it Nyauno? One of them.
Nyauno.
Yes, we have seen one of them who suffered because they tried, once they disagree with the party, then they are treated as outcasts. So I am looking at a situation, if that happened, the difficulty that the party that controls the executive or the presidency will be able to function and function properly, because they act overly partisan, and most of the times they just push the national interest to the back burner, and that's the danger you don't want to get to. We have seen situations like that, like this elsewhere, where they try to manage. And I've heard people say that once we get there, it will force them to reach compromises and, be able to, run the state. But I have my fears.
People who went to vote skirt and blouse, deliberately voted skirt and blouse because they said, I think we need a hung parliament, because then that will make the executive more responsible, because then that will create space for more scrutiny in terms of parliamentary work in Parliament, and that will serve us, the citizenry, better than the current system where the majority always has their way. Wouldn't that be a good thing for Ghana if it should happen?
So those who think that way, I think we can get to the point of an experiment, but I'm only scared of the experiment. And I cannot criticize that because I voted only twice myself, only twice for one of those parties. I voted once, like for Kufuor and the parliamentary candidate, and then I voted once for Mills and the parliamentary candidate. Since then, I've always voted for some presidential candidate I want to encourage.
Okay.
Not in NPP, not in NDC.
Goom?
Then, no, this time not Goom.
Goom has actually performed quite impressively.
Yes, but he doesn't impress me.
Okay, that's all right.
So I vote for a parliamentary candidate of one of these parties.
Okay.
So I should be the one who can give allowance to people who also think that this is the way to engineer the politics.
Yeah.
So, except that I'm scared of the experiment in our part of the world.
But why must this scare you? I mean, personally, I'm excited about the prospect. Because like my friend who said she voted skirt and blouse because that's what she thinks Ghana needs. I think the point she makes is that you won't always have your way, as we have seen it. So you wouldn't bring your bill and be able to rush it through because you have the majority in Parliament.
Because I'm also thinking that I do not want you to perform so that in the next elections, it gives me the opportunity to make a point.
Yeah.
So I will sabotage you.
Yeah, okay.
You know, whilst that could also have its, negative side, I think so far we have seen them. We have seen them act in ways that the opposition sometimes unnecessarily is walking out of parliament. They are just walking out. They are walking out because, not because the product that the governing party is bringing is bad, or that it will damage our resources in some way, but sometimes they think about their political benefit and how it puts them in a disadvantage once their opponent is successful with it.
Granted,
it's sad, but that's the politics we find our people
wouldn't
doing.
you rather say they feel powerless? Because if I'm trying to scream on top of my voice and saying this is bad for the country, and you say, look, I have the majority, so I'll go right ahead with it. Wouldn't you say that it's because I feel powerless and I don't want the people that I'm representing to see that powerlessness because they put me there to represent them? And that's why I will walk out to make a statement to let you know that I am not a part of this decision because it's a bad decision.
There are times when they have walked out and posterity has been the better judge, that the walkout was absolutely baseless. There was no point for it.
You see. Okay. Let me bring Raymond into this discussion. Raymond, we're talking about the prospect of a hung parliament, or prospect of the executive running without the majority in parliament. Something says it scares him. Does it scare you?
If 79 is anything to go by, and I've read, of course, that's the Liman administration. Sometimes when I say 79, people think that it's the military period, because at some point in time, Liman came in. Yes. One of the reasons attributed to the collapse of the Liman administration was, and I've heard the former chief of staff, Kojo Pieni, who was in that parliament, talk about how they basically had to reject the budget, creating some uncertainty. And that uncertainty followed up with the difficulties the government had. I've also heard other credible accounts that suggest that really was only a contributing factor and that Liman's administration was going to collapse anyway. More importantly, it's been one of the reasons, and I think the legislative intent behind having to ask the president to appoint more of his ministers from parliament, which defeats a very old principle of separation of powers. And some people believe that, simply, the concept of separation of powers is that the various arms of government should be independent of each other so that they can check each other.
Right.
Even in the UK, it was until recently that the Supreme Court of the UK was separated from the House of Lords. So the House of Lords positions itself as a legislative arm, higher legislative arm. But part of the House of Lords, the Judicial Committee of the House of Lords, was actually in charge of the highest decision-making in terms of judicial work in the UK. It was until recently, and it was until recently they even got their own building. So that's how they started calling themselves the UK Supreme Court. In Ghana here, that Liman administration engagement is what makes people believe that we have not advanced in our thinking and our development of democratic principle of separation of powers, that we should have the executive fully separated from the legislature. And that if in the Liman's time, there was that kind of relationship between the executive and the legislature, that rejection of the budget wouldn't have happened. Ideally, every proper democratic system should have that separation, because they need to check them and make sure that the executive are not abusing power, because power corrupts. Exactly. And in our part of the world where we seem to put so much power in the hands of the executive, they become even more corrupt if Lord Acting is anything to go by. Now,
Samson's position is that when you put people in a position that makes them powerful enough to be able to sabotage a government, because at the end of the day, they will still become, they'll be opposing each other, contending with each other in the next election. Yeah. And Samson says we've seen that happen in Parliament when they've walked away without legitimate reasons.
Yes, I actually think that, and I disagree with the people who say that it's only a few occasions that parliamentarians agree. Listen, on a day, there are several bills that goes to Parliament Most of them, they just move through it. On several occasions, they agree. It is on some thorny issues. Actually, it's in the limited cases I insist that they disagree. I believe that a government will be forced to cooperate with the minority, not abandon them, with the intention that I will need them always to rule or to govern properly, and that they can also play their role properly. Why? We've seen instances in the US where government have had to shut down because the Congress, predominated by the opponents, are not willing to let that particular house pass its budget.
And that's what someone says. Samson says he's scared will happen or can happen.
I am okay with a parliament that will not pass appropriation because the content is not in the interest of the state.
How will you determine they are doing so because the content is not appropriate or because they want to sabotage the government?
Two things. First and foremost, they are representatives of the people. A member of parliament is representing people. If he's mindful of his duty, what he will do is that, what will my people in my constituency think of this particular action? I know that the real politic is that let's make this government look very bad so that we will make sure that we kick them out of it. If by doing so, if by seeking their personal interest, it aligns with the national interest, because I am very worried about a parliament that's almost like a rubber stamp. I am very worried about that. I feel shortchanged when sometimes the people's decision do not in any way influence the people in parliament, merely because they've been whipped into deciding on the basis of their party. But the political party is not what I voted for.
What do you make of those who say that, look, you can still have a hung parliament, you can have those, you can have the executive not controlling the majority, but there are always ways of negotiating. I mean, we know politicians, they negotiate all the time. There are always ways of negotiating behind the scenes to get things through.
Actually, politics is at the base, all about collaboration, compromise, and negotiations. It is when it gets out of range that some of the nasty things we see are also happening in the space. If they are going to do this in the interest of the state, it's happening. I do not think we should fear an opposition party being in charge of parliament merely because we think they will sabotage the work of parliament, work of government. Work of government in and of itself, as we have seen it, has been with so many loopholes that if you are going to get opposition MPs because they have power to insist on the right thing being done, sometimes, and you'd agree, we believe that the opposition is absolutely right, but because the majority lies with the, what they call it, the government, they push through whatever they want to push through. Sometimes they only come back to say that, oh, but why? We pushed through it, and we saw a mistake, and we have to fix it, even though they call their attention to it. I am hoping, and I'm sure, for example, Ejapa would not have gone through parliament if he had a majority being in the, what they call it, opposition in this case. It's true, it would have gone through parliament.
But it does
it's
look
also
like
possible.
I mean, the Ejapa, won't you say the Ejapa is an outlier?
Oh, no, I'm not sure. Ejapa is an outlier because
okay, we can come
majority
to
of the
work,
majority of the work of parliamentarians, they agree. I have seen committee works in their reports. They are not there as very antagonistic people. They go sometimes to collaborate freely. It is the thorny issues, it is the Ejapas of our period that mostly bring the contention. There's also a small part, and sometimes our MPs do this. They put their interests first. I know. If you're not given anything, they will not necessarily support it. But if they're not given anything means...
If you're not given anything, as in...
see, there are deals that sometimes, and ministers of state have to, on their own, grease palms before they think it can go through. I don't know if it's standard practice.
Doesn't that amount to bribery?
Yes, but who's going to complain?
Corruption.
Who are the people complaining in this case?
Shouldn't we be complaining?
I am saying that if the people are on each side, if the minority feels it has the power to push down your bill, in this current case where they are powerless and their power is only in speech, they'll have their say and never have their way, I don't think it's effective enough. Okay. Now, the ultimate aim is that anybody who's in parliament should be mindful of one thing, that the people are representing, what they want you to do. Do the people want you to destroy government, or the people want you to make government better? They are not necessarily opponents. They are people who are supposed to collaborate and make their work not difficult, but improve their work for them in parliament.
Raymond, I was making the point that there have been many instances where the things that opposition has kicked against, time has become the better judge. And you see, look at the bigger social intervention projects that we have. And look back when those issues came to Parliament. there was no consensus, and in most of those situations, the opposition walked out. Meanwhile, these are the very things that cater to the needs of the ordinary people. Okay? You know, so when I'm making that point, for example, right now, you use the Ejapa as an example.
Yes.
Why can't we take a view that Ejapa is better of being made for the purpose, the real purpose that it is intended, so that anything that would smack of corruption about it could be taken away?
I think that was the view of the
Should it
minority
simply...
then.
No.
No, I actually think that was...
Isn't that the work? That's the work of Parliament. That's
Yes.
the work of the minorities.
And you see, it is only when they feel that when we want corrections done, we can't get it done, that they'll do the outright rejection or opposition to it.
It's
I
not
actually
always
feel
the
so.
case, don't you think?
I actually feel so.
I
And in
think
the
it's not
Japan
always
case,
the
I
case.
saw the issues they listed against it. I saw the claims they made against it. They were not out there saying that don't do it at all. In fact, I heard people like, Spielgaber also speak about this matter. The first reaction was that, let's get more details.
If you have
The second
listened to
reaction,
John Jinapo, it's an outright rejection.
based
An
on
outright
consistent
rejection
engagement which
that
have failed.
you are out to sell the people's, natural resources in a manner that it ought not. They clearly say, we don't need this to be able to manage our natural resources well. They have said so.
I get your point, but I'm saying that what I've seen from what they put out as statements clearly are taking timelines. On this date, we opposed it. We asked for more information. We didn't get this at this time. So our complete opposition to this is because at every level, we feel you are rushing it and you're pushing that our throat, giving us not enough time to peruse the things you ought to do. Or on the other hand...
But those are not their core objections.
Deal with this matter.
Those are not their core objections.
I agree with you, there could be latent intent in dealing with some of these things, just to make government look unpopular and all of that. But I'm saying that if at the end of the day, all of those tactics, all of those oppositions lead to the national interest being protected, and there are issues. There are some issues that even when you sit at home, you will say that, well, if we were asked to vote, like the way we were given the opportunity to vote in the referendum on that, what's the name of that?
Creation?
On the
yes or no.
On the yes or no, on the allowing political parties to do that active pattern at the local level. If we, and you know that issue was actually thorny in Parliament, it became a very problematic one. If we're allowed to vote on all of these things, the majority that were rejected it is because a government feels it controls in most part the executive and also controls in most part the legislature. It will not listen to many. It will be full of drunk power people, especially in an African setting.
So bottom line, you are for a hung parliament.
Yes, we have not proven to be able to manage our affairs, be mindful of the opposition, be thinking that it is in the interest of the public not to boast of power. Okay. We are power-drunk people. So if you have a check on us and our power-drunk nature, it's better.
It's better.
Yes.
I see. Well, for now, like Samson said, it's not our business. We need to wait for the Electoral Commission to make that declaration. And then we will know what we are getting in Parliament, whether we'll have an executive that has the majority or if we'll have an executive that doesn't have the majority. And then we can take the conversation out from there. But Samson, I want to bring us back to the conversation on the entire process of today. I mean, it's what? It's 7 past 10. As we speak, we are waiting for the Electoral Commission that had promised us a 24-hour delivery. Of course, they've done right by coming to say, we gave you 24 hours, but we won't be able to do that. I want to just take your thoughts.
They didn't say that.
No, but that, I mean, they said 24 hours, and they said, well, they changed the deadline.
No, they gave you 5 p.m. this evening.
Yeah, 5 p.m.
And they changed that.
Okay.
But they still said they were going to do it still within the
24 hours. Okay. Very well. I don't know why Raymond is so excited about the time.
The timelines.
But I just feel it's respectful. If I gave you
fresh
exactly that, if I gave you a timeline and I wasn't able to meet it, that I gave you reasons why, or at least I gave you
pressure to give anybody timelines. There were others who were actually suggesting that you didn't need this. You you didn't accept that even as good.
But I did
good
it.
Faith
But I did it, and I realized I couldn't meet the deadline, so I came back and I changed it.
Self-inflicted harm was needless in the first place.
Okay, so first of all, this is what I want to do. I want you to.
I thought you wanted us to address the point that the EC should not be given us needless timelines. That will make people question their integrity when it comes to deliver on the timeline.
I wanted us to evaluate the process. I think I've heard a lot of people, those who went to vote, say, I went and the process was really smooth. I went and the process was really smooth. Some say it took like 5, 10, 15 minutes. I just want to take your thoughts. If you were to evaluate the process today, what would you say?
Where were we 2016 at this time after the elections?
I'm trying
if
to remember.
we want to be sincere to ourselves about all that we have touted as the best ever, that's the way I like us to retrace our steps. But they are organizing an election in COVID. So that comes with extra work. Certainly, the Electoral Commission has done a lot of good, irrespective of the opposition it has faced, which it will always face from the opposition. That's how
I think we should do some research into
how
that
it is
part.
designed. That's how it is designed.
That was the proposal automatically.
If it happened that the NPP went into opposition today, don't be surprised. The template will not change.
Really?
Aren't there dynamics that don't really, that aren't really straightforward? Because look, this is the party that put this Electoral Commission together,
right?
By removing the previous one, which was done. The same thing was done by the previous administration. So then the opposition was opposed to this because they feel this party put this one there. And the same thing has repeated itself here. So I think the dynamics are pretty different.
I have seen the parties conduct themselves. I have no reason to think otherwise. That if the tables were to turn today, you would not find the opposition today turning into what we have always seen, spokespersons for the state organization, and then those in opposition, sometimes raise hell unnecessarily.
Afarijan's regime was pretty different, wasn't it?
Farijan, not much of a difference, but of course we knew that you had an Afarijan who had such a firm grip on what he was doing. But he was subjected to all of these suspicions and accusations all the time. It was there. Now, let's come to what they have done.
Yes.
And the timelines you talk about, people who went to vote. I also went to vote, and I spent less than 5 minutes. I was done. But I have said that I don't exactly see anything different about that, because I have been doing this job as a media person for over a decade now, but all the time I have not signed up to vote in the special voting exercise. I've always voted on the day of elections.
Why?
And I vote at certain times during the day. When I went to vote yesterday, I discovered I was at the same place that I was in 2016. I didn't see any difference. I got to my polling station, it was empty. And I found myself the same way in 2016. I got to the polling station, it was empty. I just went in there and voted. Of course, because it was declared a holiday, you would expect that in the morning, people will also, get in the queues, but may not rush in the manner that if it had not been declared a holiday, because someone may have wanted to do it early enough so they could go to work.
So for you, the speed is not a big deal.
It is good.
It is good, but not
Judging from particularly social media, it does appear that there's been a lot more speed this time round.
Okay.
And it can be explained. If you have polling stations that have been cut into smaller, numbers, you clearly should expect that it will increase the speed.
Okay.
So that's been good. In the registration process, how the EC went about churning out the numbers and sharing them with us, at every stage was very good.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't take it away from them. They did a very good thing, right?
Yeah, I see. But so what do you think we could have improved upon, if there's anything like that? Maybe I'll leave you to think about that briefly while I take what Raymond thinks worked
No,
well.
I would wish that we should cut the numbers down a lot more in the polling stations.
Okay.
So that
I think it was 700?
Yeah.
700 to a polling station.
Yes, that was
you want
supposed to
it
be
to
the
be-
maximum. I think we can cut it down further so that, if it is possible to have 300 maximum, so that nobody worries about having to go queue. But
That
as
means
we're-
creating more polling
Yes,
stations.
as we were talking about all of these things, there were places where the queues were
like Odododojo,
there
where
were
the
queues. They
actually
had problems,
created chaos.
and because of the problems, the queues were not moving. In parts of Tamale, we had the report in the night. In the night, they were still in the queues trying to vote. People are afraid, scared about electronic voting. I don't know why we cannot get there. We can get there for a section of the community, the society.
Indeed.
And that will reduce how we go about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, that's actually one point I've been thinking about. And I know that the distinguished Afarijan some time ago said, until his grandmother can safely manage the computer, he doesn't think electronic voting should be the way out. Now, I think...
It doesn't have to be for everybody.
Yes, I think there are alternatives that should be on the table for
Raymond,
people.
what worked for you? The timing was good?
Yes,
and that's it?
it was good. I actually feel that there were reduced number of incidents in terms of machines getting problems and some of them developing faults. And this is compared to 2012 more important. You remember in 2012 we had to go for almost a new day election. They had to be extended the next day simply because at some point in time somebody failed to tell the people who are running the verification machines change the battery before 11. Imagine. Just that simple instruction.
So if we were to compare, this is way better
Than 2012.
Than 2012.
I don't think this is markedly different from 2016. So, I mean, that's where I actually feel that they are almost the same. It shows we are improving, and we should improve further on that.
But then you have a fundamental problem with the timelines given. What is wrong with someone giving themselves a target and saying that this is what I want to do and I'm going to work at it?
Because a lot depends on your integrity. If you fail at it, nobody's compelling you to give that timeline. See, if you give a timeline, there's a general principle that people apply. Under promise, overperform. People will be impressed with you. In this case, when you give an indication, and for some reason, so what was the compulsion here? What was the big deal in telling us that you deliver in 24 hours? Even established democracies, they don't always deliver within the period that people expect them to deliver.
If I feel like
even
I deliver,
some
why
who
not
do
say?
the electronic voting, because practically, and I think this
But
was...
are you comparing us to America?
No, I'm not talking about even America.
Okay.
I'm saying across the world, there are people who actually do electronic voting end up not necessarily getting the results in time. There are several infractions that may happen along the line. You put them in mind, and in the process, that is lack of experience if you don't consider those things. I admit that, for example, the chairperson might have monitored elections for a period of time, but has not worked with the Electoral Commission for that period. I also admit that his very vociferous deputy, Dr. Bosman Asari, has taught for a very, of course, he taught me, so I respect him, has taught a very amount, but may not have had the requisite appreciation of the process when it comes to this end. And of course, there's also the deputy who's worked with the Electoral Commission for some time. What I fear is this: let's do something to impress the people. let's create the impression that our system is way better than what happened in 2016. And that might have informed this 24-hour rule that they put in there. That was like X in their own faces. Today, the Electoral Commission that's doing this election in its current status for the first time is sowing doubts in the minds of the people about what it promises and what it can deliver.
Okay.
And that's what you should not be doing, because people may judge even the results you put out through those lenses.
Okay.
I don't know if you get that. I mean, it might be an overstretch, but it is needless for you to create problems for yourself when you have more important issues to deal with.
Okay.
As we speak, I mean, depending on how you consider the 24 hours, it seems to have been over, and we are still not hearing anything from you. As we speak, we do not know when the Electoral Commission is going to declare the results. That kind of uncertainty is not what you should have actually let be.
We're told it will be declared at the international...
No, I'm talking about what time.
Oh, what time?
Yes, we do not know.
Not long ago, the Public Relations, Director of Public Relations, Sylvia Arnott, said that the results were tickling in, right?
Yeah.
She spoke to Israeli, and I heard her say that the results are tickling in, so...
But the NDC had complained.
That is not assuring at all.
But the
what does that
NDC
mean? We have gotten 50%,
NDC
60%, 80, 90, 40%.
And the NDC had complained that their representatives at the coalition, the National Coalition Center, had said this was as of, I think, in the afternoon, thereabouts,
Yes.
said they hadn't heard any single
Or
result
seen
at the time.
a single one.
That was so bad to hear. That was after 2 o'clock.
Yeah. With barely 3 hours
yeah,
of the time.
Pesach
Not long after the
and-
EC had
yeah.
declared the 5 p.m. timeline.
They actually said that if that's really the case, then that was bad. They actually said that they had been there all the while and nobody had the courtesy to engage them, to even suggest to them, give them information and say, oh, we're expecting, XYZ, nothing has come in. You should be patient.
Yes.
This will come. Nobody was
That's pretty
interacting with them.
disrespectful, isn't it?
And that really was bad. I felt that was really, really, really bad.
Okay. Well,
Even though this time around they say that the coalition for the presidency, which is one constituency, is being done at the regions, so they're expecting 16 results from 16 regions.
which they'll just put together
Yes,
and
and
announce.
so they had used that to, sort of do their calculation and planning, that it was going to come very, quick and easy. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to have happened that way, especially where there are challenges and where there was some rain or storm last night.
Yeah.
So
but actually, people have said that you cannot use the rain as an excuse because it's always weather forecast.
I mean, to be fair, I think an act of God like rain can be excused. I actually think so.
Yeah.
If you pay attention to the weather forecast, why would that be an excuse?
I think that the promise of the 24 hours was made way ahead of this possibility of
That's
rain
true.
happening. What I think cannot be excused is not anticipating challenges, really, in an election as hotly contested as Ghana's own, in the stakes, or even take from history, because that's the only thing that can guide you. In our previous elections, haven't we had various parliamentary challenges, even if they're not presidential challenges?
Yeah.
So how can you ever make an estimation without considering that? It smacks of inexperience to me, if it's not incompetence.
They may have considered that because they tell you that because we have cut down the number of polling stations, the number of voters at each polling station, we expect that the results will be collated quick enough, and then they'll be transmitted to the regional, centers quick enough, and within 24 hours we should have had them.
So to be fair, if there are 115 polling stations divided into various electoral areas, and I challenge at food distribution kiosks in in North Jolu, and I'm not satisfied, I elevate the challenge to the collation center. When I go to the collation center, I do not prioritize my own. There are 115 people in the queue coming to present their figures.
Yeah.
In that queue that they are coming to present, I am actually at the back. Imagine having to wait till my time before they do the counting, before they add it to the rest, before they can actually clarify it. And I'm not pleased with the first recollation that I actually demanded, because I thought there was a massive problem that ought to be dealt with. All of these ought to sometime be considered. Even if you have to eliminate
But if you have a problem, it should be at the
instance
polling. It should be at the polling station. It shouldn't be at the collation
No,
center.
the problem of recount polling station.
Yeah.
I am demanding that even beyond the recount, I need recollation, which will bring into bear my specific problem at the polling station and make it reflect the national on the constituency-wide picture. Okay. That's what I'm demanding. Yeah. It would require of you to maybe look at all the 115 and go through it.
Do you get the sense that that's something that the Electoral Commission had wanted to avoid? You know, some of these contests here and there. So
you can't avoid them.
I mean, I can't afford.
You can minimize them, but to all intents and purposes, this is
take that out.
Political parties who are in some form of adversarial relationship and who are demanding rights.
And about that suggestion that I've heard it elsewhere, that's a suggestion that if you do not demand at the polling station, then you have lost out. If it's not done for you at the polling station, you have lost out. What the law says is that at the polling station, you can ask for a recount. If you did for a second recount and the presiding officer decided that, you know, he's not going to attend to it, you have the opportunity of the returning officer. Is it the returning officer? Yes.
Yes, that's for the constituency.
Yes, at the collation center to take care of your circumstance.
Okay, Samson, let me just jump in there. We'll come back to that briefly. But there has been a joint statement of ECOWAS, AU, UNOWAS. I'll take you through that. But let me just quickly remind you that our election coverage is brought to you in association with Petrosol. Clean fuel in full quantity is always a delightful experience. Cowbell Coffee, taste it, love it. Markdown Shipping and Logistics Limited, your total logistics partner, and Powerdeva Limited, your home of modern furniture. DDP Outdoor Limited, serving great brands, festivities to your life, and Wood-3-year lotteries. Star 787 hash, Ghana's premier and biggest jackpot lottery. HEPA Plus mixture for your general well-being. Now, these are the people who are supporting us with this coverage. You're listening to us on Joy 99.7 FM. We're on Love 99.5 FM. We're also on the Joy News channel on DSTV 421, Go TV 144. And, of course, on Joy Prime as well on all our social media handles. Now, due to hard times, we have become value hunters. But are we hunting for value the right way? Remember, your engine is more valuable than just cheap fuel. Be smart, hunt for holistic value, and that is Petrosol. Petrosol gives you holistic value, which is when you have quality fuel at the right quantity and certainly at the fair price. Wake up every day to that great feeling from a delicious creamy coffee aroma from Cowbell Coffee and enjoy the delicious creamy Cowbell Coffee taste. Cowbell Coffee, taste it, love it. As we go along, I'll tell you more about those who are helping us bring you this coverage. Let me end with Markdown Shipping. Now, it has established itself as the market leader in freight forwarding in Ghana since November 1999. Markdown Shipping has invested in building a track record of effectiveness in warehousing for both bonded and general haulage, cargo handling, customs brokerage. Markdown Shipping has the expertise and continues to meet your varied logistics and freight forwarding needs. So look no further. Contact us at Block 10, Aviance Cargo Village, Kotoka Airport, or www.markdownshipping.com. You can call 0302-762280 or 0249-991-199. My name is Gifty Andopi. I'm doing this with Samson Ladi and Yenene and Raymond Aqua. Of course, Evan Spencer and Winston Amwa are on the other side. They've been crunching the figures and talking to people who have, won the parliamentary seat at least, those who have lost. It's been an interesting development. Maybe we can talk about that once we finish with this part of the conversation, which is how the media has covered the elections. I see the way you're nodding something. I get a feeling that you're very interested in this part of the conversation. I'm going to start with Raymond.
That's fine.
I'm going to start with Raymond.
I thought that interest necessarily mandated that.
So Raymond, the media has been under scrutiny. I mean, from since we started counting, maybe even earlier than that, since we started counting down from 100 days, everybody's eyes have been on the media, media this, media that. How do you evaluate the work done so far?
So there is media that's dedicated to political parties' propaganda, that's separate. there is also media that's dedicated to doing an independent job, which may even get it wrong. The idea is that the dedication is to do the independent work.
How is that separate? The media that has political ownership, at the end of the day, they're still churning out information.
I'm saying that there is really, to me, nothing wrong with a media house saying that we are affiliated to a political party, so far as they do not poison the environment. So far as they do not end up worsening the sometimes volatile conditions under which we vote, I have no problems with that. I actually think that the country should have by now grown to appreciate and understand that people have divergent views. And media coverage, which is not necessarily unbiased, can be expected of people. So I will not waste so much time having to say that, don't do that. This is not unaccepted. I think we are all supposed to live by a certain level of ethics, just that differences in opinion may matter. What I'll concentrate on is the fact that I think journalism is an improvement. An improvement in the quest to use more modern technology in actually explaining things to people. I admit we may get it wrong. I admit that sometimes I cringe at the kind of statistical imputations we put to certain things. I admit that. But it's a step in the right direction. We will get it better with time. I only hope that we have done a lot more preparation, media in general, so that some of the things that are said, some of the things that do not make sense statistically, yet we think we can bandy it about and make it look like we are doing some very wonderful analysis, should be left out.
Did that happen?
Oh yes, I actually can. I've listened to a couple of them. And I think there's a very specialized challenge in having to convert all of these election terminology and statistics into the local language. Because I have listened to some of them, and I identify with the challenge because there are some things I can't say in Chi. Yes, to be fair, there are certain things that I struggle to think if people can really say it well in Chi. So the closest they can do to that, which may be some form of misinterpretation of that, is going to happen. I do not think if they do not deliberately set out to put out falsehood, to poison the environment, to actually make Ghana look like we are in a war zone, or if they did not set out to be belligerent in their posturing, it's okay. And I think largely, up to this time, the media has done well. There's been some competition, and we can't miss out on that. And maybe because of competition, you might have taken a wrong step or done something that is on the wrong end. The most important part is you admit you have done something wrong, you correct it and move on. That, to me, is the way to go. But we've not finished with the elections. Yeah. In fact, I think the most important part is yet to even be resolved yet. Because declaration is an important one. Voting is great.
It's good to evaluate how far you have come. So people who are listening, who are willing to take advice can listen and improve.
Largely, I think we have improved so well and so much that if I'm not doing self-praise, I think we are heading in the right direction.
Okay.
I also believe that maybe going forward, there's a lot more, because I think the media is now specializing in much of the analysis that makes sense. There's a lot more required training in that area for people. That there's a book called Statistics for Dummies. I actually feel that it should be required reading for people who seek to do some of these analysis, so that you do not receive, because if you tell people something and they believe you and they take it to heart, and it's sometimes difficult for that thing to be taken out of their heart.
That's true.
And they will debate other people with
That's
it.
True.
So you have a responsibility to feed them with the right information.
Definitely. And for a media that's broadcasting to the masses, you can't compromise on that.
So we are doing largely way better. I am looking forward to a time where, since we are doing the job of most government institutions, government, as in the state, will be interested in funding media houses, election reportage.
Really?
Because it involves a lot of resources, and that, I mean, to be fair,
let me take that on.
We fund so many useless things. Let's not joke with it. We fund so many preposterous things.
I mean, let me, Samson, can you take it from where he ended? You know, about funding for media for election coverage.
Any sort of funding that does not come with any strings, that will suggest taking away the media's right in Chapter 5 of the Constitution, Article 21, in Article 162, Chapter 12, including censorship and trying to dictate how you ought to conduct yourself, is welcome, particularly in this COVID era. A lot of investment goes into doing the kind of thing that the election headquarters is doing, and some other, media houses, are also coming of age to try to do something like that. Raymond was talking about, yes, we cannot claim perfection, but when you say we cannot claim perfection, I think that we ought to hasten to add that if you want to do the job of the election, beyond the election coverage, trying to put the results together in a way that makes sense as to speak to the question of who is projected to win or not win, you ought not be giving yourself the opportunity of making a mistake. Yes, we have over 450 radio stations that are all going around covering. That is all good. Like they say, sunshine is the best disinfectant. We have in excess of, 120 television stations doing all of these things. That is good. So as in the coverage before election day and on election day is fine. But where you want to do the project like we are doing right now, set up your own situation or strong room and collate the results, you should not be giving yourself the chance of making a mistake.
Yeah.
It's either you are going to do and get it right or you are not going to do it.
That's the general picture. In terms of how we have covered it, I mean, not when I say we, I don't mean us here at Multimedia. I mean generally how the media has covered this particular election. For Raymond, it's an improvement on the previous. Is that what you see as well?
Well, we can only improve. Yes, over the years, we can only improve. And the more media we are getting, then it means the more multiple sources for people to source the information. But of course, there are people who are stuck to particular media houses, and you can't do anything about it. There are millions who are watching and listening to us now. They just can't wait. And they know that there are several other media outlets there. But they are with us because they know this is where they will get the most credible election, results and election information, and eventually, get to be able to judge which of the two parties is not being, straight with the facts.
Have you paid attention to how the international media has covered, as I understand it's been described as a boring election?
Yeah, because people are not throwing tantrums and people are not fighting. And I think that, so I get that perception sometimes from some of these people. And I've read a couple of those that said, it's a thorn issue between the former president. And they describe them in some ways. I actually feel that sometimes the international media, of course, we too, sometimes we choose very wonderful headlines to make our point.
Like?
And, the headlines should be a little bit spicy so that people feel it in their throats when they are consuming it. And I'm not disputing that's something that's done. But I think I sense to some extent some attitude. The attitude that these are backward people on some continent in Africa who do not know their left from right.
Really?
We all saw what happened in the U.S. with coverage. We also what happened in the U.S. with the conduct of their politicians. some of the things they did there, I'm convinced no Ghanaian politician will do.
But that's the outlier Donald Trump.
Oh, no, who says it's only Donald Trump? There are more serious issues than Donald
we are
Trump.
in COVID. COVID has changed everything.
Yeah. And
so if you have seen boring campaigns.
Yes.
But have the campaigns really been boring? When the politicians have thrown the same things they're asking everybody to keep to the COVID, protocols. The president himself, who has issued the EI's executive instruments that say, if you don't wear a face mask, don't move out of your home. Okay, he's had and I've said it elsewhere, I'll say it again. He's had the super spreader events where you have thousands of people gathering, and many of them, or most, do not care about wearing a mask. And both of them are guilty. The two major parties, they are guilty of it. So, even in the midst of COVID, they have tried to, as it were, enliven the campaign.
Some
of
people
course,
actually say COVID has helped.
No, but look at it in this way again. We are used to every regime getting its fair share of 8 years. Correct?
Yeah.
So far, that's what we have done.
Yes.
In the Fourth Republic. Yeah.
We have not jettisoned any, particular president midway. So,
except, of course, those who
So to have the NDC perform the way it has done, I don't think it has been boring.
Okay.
I don't think it's been boring.
Yeah, I mean, that's
and it's not over yet. It's not over yet. Like Raymond likes to remind. Like Raymond likes to remind me.
I think we are not looking at it from that perspective. Whatever
perspective.
the end will be, the NDC has made a lot of gains.
Put up a very good fight.
It has made a lot of gains, and you would have expected that they would not have been able to do that.
Okay.
You would have expected that they would not have been able to do that because the people's minds will be, oh, why? 4 years, they give him the next 4 years because that's what we are used to.
But that's if they are considering, forgive me, if they are considering the political party, but they are considering the individuals.
We're taking the conversation from the media to the political party.
Oh, forgive me. I wanted just a little addendum to the point.
Raymond. So, I mean, I was just going to ask, I think you can make the point, but I think I was just going to ask what your expectations are as we wait for the declaration of the media in terms of how we put it out there. I mean, responsibilities and how, probably a boring conversation, but I think it's a necessary part of it all.
I don't expect any media house to play reggae that sounds like they are going to war.
Reggae?
Yes, that sounds like they are going to war.
Reggae doesn't sound like you're going to war.
I mean, as in reggae with tones that are suggestive of trouble and
maybe
all
you
of
want
that.
to say they shouldn't be playing. I don't think you
For
appreciate
example,
music a lot.
If they play a song
but otherwise, reggae is not what you want to say.
Crazy bald hairs out. The undertones,
right.
the subtext to it will give some suggestions. I don't expect that kind of posturing.
So people should be mindful of the kind of songs that they play.
Yes. I also did not expect inflammatory language. So, for example, the Media Foundation for West Africa has consistently told us the people who say the things that are not required to be said on air. Some of them we know own some of these stations. I expect that the media will be responsible enough not to extend that kind of conduct.
But you said they own the station. Will you stop your boss from coming?
I am basically isolating those stations out of that space.
Yeah.
And it should not be extended to media that is required and responsible and has been seen to be reasonable.
Okay.
Because you give it a lot of power if you put them elsewhere.
Okay.
So that is what I expect from them. I also do not expect the media to put the speed ahead of credibility going forward. Because credibility is all you have.
Yeah.
If you throw it into the dustbin,
You're
regardless
done.
of how fast you deliver whichever thing you are delivering, it will not work.
That's true.
I expect the media to also be mindful of the circumstance we find ourselves. You can say anything you want to say. Freedom of speech is allowed. But you should know that your freedom of speech should not destroy the nation. And that kind of temperate language is actually what I expect from media practitioners and the people they select to put on their network. Sensitivity at this time matters.
That's true.
I'm not asking you to be, censored one way or the other. I'm saying you should be sensitive because this is the only nation we have Some of us, we don't have dual citizenship. Some of us, we do not.
Even though your visa is still valid. Your visa for the UK is still valid,
yes,
right?
but we do not have dual citizenship. Some of us
I don't have
cannot
any
run away.
visas in my passport at the
Okay,
moment.
I see. Some of us cannot run away to any other place. So we should be mindful that elections should just be another period where we choose leaders who are going to help us develop, who are going to help the poor get better, and not ways where we indulge the poor and subject them to more poverty and abject poverty related stuff.
I
so
hope that.
if that is the mind with which we do our work, with which all media people, and not acting as surrogates of political party, and not acting as their poodles, if I could use Martin Hamidou's exact words, we will get it well, we will move on, we will do a very wonderful and splendid work. And that's the expectation from now onwards.
Hopefully it won't sound like a cliche in the ears of the people who are listening. And I want you to wrap up on that part of the conversation, Samson, with your thoughts on political ownership of media houses. I think it's been a big deal, and how it plays into this part of the conversation. Anybody has a right, of course, to own whatever it is that they want to own, but some people, especially within the media that I've spoken to, have raised concerns about that trend we're beginning to see, where all these media houses are springing up.
It's about responsibility, being responsible. Like Raymond said, yes, we have the freedoms that are guaranteed by the Constitution. But you know that whilst there is freedom of speech, there's not exactly freedom after speech. There could be freedom before you speak. But after you speak,
we cannot guarantee.
Depending on what you deal with, it may not be guaranteed.
Right.
And people have, exercised their rights, either their right to a rejoinder, or they have run to the NMC, or they have taken people to the court over defamation and the rest of them. Political ownership is something that we have tried to stop by introducing the broadcasting bill. In the broadcasting bill, which the politicians will not pass, they haven't passed for how many years now? Almost a decade now. And they will not pass because if you are politically exposed, you cannot be given a license to run a media house.
Based on that bill?
Yes. You will not be given a license to run a media house.
So it might not even be as lucky as the right to information when it turns 18.
Exactly. We have seen politicians, as Raymond said, who own media houses and what they have turned the entities to, and they are on their media platforms every day, insulting everybody. Unfortunately, they get praised by their party people, irrespective of the reckless stuff that they churn out. Of course, a responsible media house like Multimedia, I doubt some of those characters, you will entertain them on your platform. It's the same way that, the over 450 radio stations across the country, with the exception of those that those people own, so they have unfettered access, you will expect that they will exercise the same sense of responsibility not to allow, such people the opportunity on their platforms. Particularly like this time. You give your platform to some of these, they are so loose. They as if they speak before they think, and they say just anything.
Anything, right?
So we have to be careful not to give the platform to such characters. Because once we do, they would say the things that they have to say, and you never know how it ends. So we have a responsibility to exercise that kind of, responsibility.
Okay, I'll just read on the back of that this joint statement from ECOWAS, AU, and UNOWAS. It says joint statement of ECOWAS, African Union, and UNOWAS on the post-election situation in the Republic of Ghana. 8th December, of course, is the date, and it reads: "We, the heads of ECOWAS and African Union election observation missions, and the special representative of the UN Secretary General for the West Africa and the Sahel, and head of UNOWAS, that's Dr. Ibn Chambers, commend the people of Ghana for peaceful conduct of the 7th 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections. This is in line with Ghana's enviable track record of organizing peaceful and successful elections since the return to multi-party democracy in 1992. Second paragraph says, as Ghanaians await the announcement of final official results by the Electoral Commission, the heads of ECOWAS and African Union election observation missions to Ghana and UNOWAS urge all political stakeholders and the citizenry to exercise patience and remain calm. Final paragraph, in recognition of the important role of the political leaders, especially the two major parties, the NPP and the NDC, in preserving the peace in line with their commitment, including the signing of the Peace Pact on 4th December 2020, we urge all political parties and their leadership to respect the spirit and letter of these commitments. Furthermore, we appeal to political parties and their followers to refrain from any conduct that may undermine the successful conclusion of the electoral process. We also call on state institutions to continue to carry out their responsibilities with professionalism and transparency. We reaffirm our solidarity with the people of the Republic of Ghana in their quest to consolidate their democracy, and is signed by three heads, or the three heads of these institutions. I don't know if you have any comments on the back of that. Otherwise, talk a little bit about our sponsors, and then we can zoom in and talk about what is happening or what is going to happen in Parliament.
Okay, but I think it's a good statement. I mean, it's in tune with what these unions are actually supposed to be doing as continental and intercontinental observers. I know that the various people you reference had observer teams across the country, and they have picked up information. I think it's in sync with what we have also been saying here, that the ultimate aim of elections is not to kill people. It's not to turn it violent and make it look like, I mean, everything is at stake, when the most important part is that elections are a means to an end. Elections are for you to select responsible leaders who will lead you to your destination of actually getting you more development. If the election end up in trouble, in all of the things that are not desirable, there's no need for it. And these statements have come from various bodies. Yeah. Sometimes you feel proud when the first line they gave out there, that Ghana has an enviable track record.
And they do that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, you should feel proud about it. But the second line also suggests to you that the tendency for you to deviate from that track record is there. Exactly. But do not deviate from it. Okay. I am hoping that we will not deviate from it. I'm hoping that we will be, continue with our track record. More importantly, I'm hoping that we will not stay with the track record of just doing elections. I am hoping that when we go forward, our elections will be a means to which we deliver proper development to the people. It is high time we stopped marking our democratic credentials with mere elections. We should move into making sure that pure, proper democracy, the elements are known to every other person and are really experienced in the lives of the ordinary person. And in this case, the woman at the Makola market, the woman in my hometown, the other people who do not necessarily engage government at this level or do not care about merely voting for voting. Or voting means to them better education, voting means to them better healthcare, voting means to them having to live a better life. Those are the things that we should start marking our democracy by, not by the aesthetics of having to go take a check or on a ballot box or the ballot paper at some point.
That's it. That process is a very important part of the democratic process.
It's clearly expected of them. I worked with the ECOWAS Observer Group. 2006, we went to Nigeria to observe, and they issue these statements from their secretariat once in a while, depending on the temperature, that they measure according to what is going on. So it is fine. And they reference the two leaders to the peace pact NPP, that they have signed onto. I think it's very good. But like I stated earlier, nobody has signed to a peace pact and agreed that they will not express their reservations when wrong is being done. Somebody may say,
go their way?
Somebody may say, see, if wrong is done, go to court. No. It's very wrong. That kind of language that is always quick to say go to court is very wrong.
As if going to court means you can't speak about it.
Exactly. So the thing is that they have what it takes to communicate whatever reservations they have without coming across as though we are at a war front.
Yeah.
They can do so, okay? So if someone has seen something wrong and there is a forum to ventilate, they should do so. If the forum to ventilate is to use a press conference and to speak to their members across the country, they should do so, but not do it in a way that undermines the very process that we are undertaking.
I hope they're listening, and that then it's not just listening, but actually sometimes it becomes, you wonder how people think, because we talk about these things over and over again, and sometimes you still see the same things being repeated. I really hope sincerely that things will be different. Now, we've seen, and as according to Joseph Opoku Gakpo, who is our parliamentary correspondent, he gave me a list, and we'll perhaps perhaps get the others. I have at least 28 of members of parliament who have lost their seat. I want us to have a bit of a conversation around that. I think it'll be interesting. But I'm hoping that there's a way you out there can join us in this conversation. So it's not just about us. We're all waiting, aren't we? So while we're waiting, we'd love to hear from you. I will try and communicate the platform. But in the meantime, the hashtag is ElectionHQ. Election HQ, and I want you to try and jump on that hashtag. Let's see if we can hear from you and share your thoughts. If you have any question for Samson, you can throw that at him. If you have any question for the returnee, Raymond Aqua, you can throw that at him as well. Remember, this is your election headquarters. It is 54 minutes past 10. We're waiting to hear from the Electoral Commission whether or not we've got the figures ready to make a declaration. We've had the NDC raise some concerns already. We're discussing how our conduct of the election has been so far. We're discussing how the NDC is airing these concerns that they have. Or we're discussing how the EC has done its job, which of course it hasn't finished. And Raymond, I just got a question from somebody, but this is from my personal phone. So I'll like I said, you can jump on the hashtag and send in your thoughts. There is a WhatsApp number I'll share with you shortly. This person is asking, what do Raymond and Samson think about the EC not publishing certified results as they get them? She says, at least if they publish the results that have been certified on their website and on social media, it will improve the transparency. Let me start with something.
No, I thought he started doing that already.
For the parliamentary seats. Yeah, for the parliamentary seats.
Okay, this message was sent at 10:22. I don't know if the person hasn't seen it yet. For the parliamentary, but then there are also you can publish for the presidential. I mean, based on the constituencies or the regions that are available.
I haven't checked in how many hours now. I suspect they would have been doing that by now. But the presidential is also one constituency.
Okay.
So whatever it is, eventually they will let us know all of it. But the perfect thing to have done was to, once the results started coming in, immediately, carry the people along.
Okay. So we'll talk about parliamentarians and what is happening there. Now, thinking of what to make your cooking special, Festiva is what you need. Festiva has all you need to make your food special for your delicious breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Festiva has got you sorted. Our products include Festiva jasmine rice from Thailand and Vietnam, mackerel, sardines, mayonnaise, baked beans, soy sauce, prawn crackers, evaporated milk, condensed milk, cereal milk, soya milk, non-dairy creamer, sour soft drink, and monosodium. We need to get you Festiva, something. Choose from our wide range of Festiva products and make every meal tasty. As you can hear, something here really.
Some prongs.
Yeah. Okay, so Festiva, maybe you're listening to us. We're reading, the message. So Something is also looking forward to something from you. Remember, Festiva is your best bet. If you have a foodie family, for bulk purchase, you can call 0540 122 003. Festiva, adding flavors to your life. And kill the stress with jumping into Trotsky's on busy appointment days with only 5 CDs. Dial *78# now to play and drive home a brand new Toyota Corolla with 5 CD pet this Saturday, 12th of December 2020. Same ticket qualifies you to bag home the new big 395,000 CD jackpot, same draw day with thousands more cash prize. Grab your Toyota Corolla keys now with only 5 CDs. Dial *787# now to play and win your tier rubber ride. That is *787# Ghana's premier biggest jackpot lottery. And DDP Outdoor Limited. DDP Outdoor Limited, Ghana's leading out-of-home advertising company, providing your organization with solutions in outdoor advertising, airport advertising, and large formats digital printing, indoor and outdoor. These are the numbers to reach them on 054 143 1043 or 0244 440 7894. Also, you can call them on 0242 587923. DDP Outdoor Limited, serving great brands. I know they might sound a lot, but you see, this is how we're able to bring the courage to you. So we were just talking about how we can perhaps get some, Raymond thinks state funding will help, but Samson says the caveat is it shouldn't come with any, no strings attached. On that note, let me do this last one. Hepaplex mixture. It strengthens the immune system to help fight infections. Hepaplex mixture helps the liver and other vital organs to correct problems such as excess body fat, overweight, menstrual disorders, sexual weakness. I didn't smile at you, Raymond. High sugar levels, general weaknesses, etc. Plasmox mixture.
No, the disclaimer is that the sexual weakness has nothing to do with me.
No, I know.
No, but the way you said, you didn't smile at me. Clearly.
No. It was just something I wanted to say. I forgot and I just remembered when
you're not doubting my potency.
I can't do that when something is here. So let me finish with the Hepaplex. All right. So 1 bottle of Plasmox treats malaria by correcting your symptoms of malaria within 1 hour. Pavi mixture is an immune system support which makes your blood cells healthy to function correctly, and this is your go-to in these times of coronavirus. Hepaplex mixture is for our general well-being and hence recommended for everyone. This is how you can reach out to them: 0542 778 572 or 0549 297 463. My name is Gifty Andopi. I'm here with Samson Ladia Nyenene and Raymond Aqua. You can get us, I think, on 055 111 997. That's 055 111 997. That's pretty simple. We want to hear from you. How are you waiting? Have you got some popcorn, some chicken? Have you...
Nobody treats election that way. It's not a movie. Not at all.
Sometimes you just want to,
People are sitting on the edge of their seats. People are being worried because you see, there are a lot of stakes. I mean, listen. So many people will lose their jobs.
No, but that's why you need popcorn. I mean, you need something to...
people will lose their jobs after the election. If there's a change in government.
You see, look at Samson's...
after the election.
No, look at Samson's posture.
Contracts will be cancelled after the election. Yeah.
What all this? Like,
No, take your time. He's a prominent private legal practitioner. He is not affected by the vagaries and the problems in our political system
That's not true.
No. So you are saying that you are also affected.
That's not true. Let's get to the
what are you disputing? The
big wins and big falls.
No, we will. I just want to remind our viewers to join. I want to know how you are waiting. How are you doing the waiting? It is 1 past 11. It is 1 past 11. We were given 5 p.m., which was subsequently changed. The number is 055 111 997. Text us. Let me know what you think and how you are doing the waiting on the Electoral Commission. Samson, you've had the number of people that, I don't think we have the full picture yet, but at least I have about 28 of them. Were you surprised when you heard the figures?
Now, first about how people are waiting.
Yeah.
They are waiting here. They are waiting on election headquarters because they know that very soon, sooner than they know, you will give them the clearer picture of
Well, we're
everything.
waiting.
That settles every debate.
Yeah, we've got
Right.
Winston and Evans who would look
Right.
at our map that was populated with the figures to break it
That's
down
right,
for us.
right.
But I wanted to know what they're doing. I mean, apart from listening or watching.
They have been feeding that map, and by now that map is full. It's full.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
now
We'll see. We'll see.
They've been very interesting wins. Some of them people who are friends, so I'm excited for.
Oh, okay. Do you want to mention names?
Of course, as for John Kumar, it was a done deal because it was a Juso. It was a stronghold. John Kumar has been a very good friend.
Okay.
We were in Legon together. Actually, we started student leadership together, and we have been friends. So,
Nooks or campus leadership?
SRC.
SRC. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Um,
I stopped following Nooks in school
Okay.
because of the kind of politics they did even at that level.
you can.
It was amazing.
You can actually influence it and make it good.
How do you say?
Well,
Yeah. Yeah, you can make it good.
that's a different conversation
Make it good.
for another day.
If you're familiar with Akwafo Hall, go there and ask about how some of the leadership was shown, and you can see that you can influence it well.
I'm impressed you were the JCR president for the farmers. I doubt if they have made president in Legon Hall, but that's fine. I mean, I'm not even saying anything.
Right.
connected
So,
to that.
Cabo,
Yeah.
Laura,
Surprised you most?
I didn't expect him to lose, even though it was a place that was a possibility.
Okay.
I thought that having been given the opportunity to serve his people and having seen how he has exerted himself, he went down to the people. He was with
that's
them.
what the pictures showed.
He was on the farms with them.
Is that what the pictures on the social media showed or actually happened?
Beyond the pictures.
Okay.
And so I felt that this was a youth who had sought the opportunity for a while to sort of
Lead
be
the
of service
people.
to his people, and once they gave it to him, and he had the privilege of becoming a deputy minister, they would the second time would have considered him again, but unfortunate, they didn't think that way and bade Zeding. If you look at it from a different perspective, he has also suffered. He has suffered really long to get this. Now, let's come closer. Timpani.
Yeah.
Pamka Dimdiok. Very good friend.
Friend
again.
of yours, I was going to say.
It was a place that I never thought anything like that was going to happen.
Why?
It was a place I never thought anything like that was going to happen. Once again, that's a young man who got it for the first time and had the privilege of being, serving in the government as a deputy attorney general.
Yeah.
And had distinguished himself in that role. The most of the things that you hear about, as far as the criminal prosecutions are concerned, his signature is on them.
Okay.
Right. And I thought that he could be considered. He had a few personal issues back in his backyard, which I felt would also have given him some sympathy rather than what has happened to him. So I've given you 3 examples of people in the NPP.
Yeah.
In the NDC, I'm excited, super excited
Xavier?
about Francis Sosu. Okay, so Francis was also my mate, and we were in, the school scripture union together. As in the prayer groups and fellowship together.
Right.
And
Raymond
so
can't
I have
identify
known
with
him.
that, but that's okay.
I have known him and known his background.
Right.
His background from being a street boy and getting the privilege of being taken into an orphanage, and eventually, getting the opportunity, to go to school, come to become a lawyer, and beyond that, he's done a few other things for himself. And once he decided that he was going to give himself to the people, I had no doubt that he would give them the service that they deserve. So even before he becomes an MP, just by being a candidate or by being an aspirant, you should go to Medina and check the things that he was doing. You should go and check the things that he was doing.
Why do you think he didn't get it the first time he tried?
The first time, I don't know what happened. I just don't know what happened.
I guess it wasn't his time.
Yeah, it clearly wasn't his time. And he admitted that. He said God's time is what it is.
That is to presume that God made that particular decision. Sometimes we ought to declare.
So God has a ways of doing his thing. So look, I am surprised at the margin with which he won that seat. That's such a great margin with which he won that seat against a formidable MP. Okay? And we heard all the stories about how, people who have money feel that they can buy votes or they can use money, use gifts to influence people. And this is how he made it. So I'm super excited about that.
Okay. Let's make that your preliminary comment.
Right.
I will come back and then maybe we take specific ones and see, because we can't do all 28.
And I love the Formina guy.
That's something, right?
That's
the
Formina
cool record.
Stringent, insistent.
Right.
Because he was so confident. I remember he was talking to Joseph Opoku Gakpo in Parliament, and he said, I am going to win that seat. And he said it consistently. I personally was scared for him.
Oh, I doubted it.
I said, if this guy loses this
Once the president said the things he said, I said he was done.
Like, you're done. Done. Okay, we'll come to that. Maybe we'll dwell a bit more.
But you see, there's a lesson in there, and that's the most important thing for me.
Okay.
The people, even the party people that the president spoke to, they didn't listen to the president because they know the guy. Find out about the guy now. I have done just some very, simple, basic check
about him,
and he has risen from a certain stage.
Okay.
Working at the Kumasi Metropolitan Authority or Assembly, and then later finding himself, there and through Parliament, and how he has bonded with the people.
Yeah. That
the people take him as someone who has a lot of integrity. And when the party decided, party executives, just a handful of them, decided that they didn't like him, decided that they would kick him out, they got what they wanted. But this is what it has cost them. I think our party people must always respect the people who are down there. Sometimes just a small clique of executives.
Yeah.
Sometimes some instruction from some big man in Accra.
Order from above.
It's all there is. That changes the whole dynamics in a place. You see? So you listen to the people.
Yeah.
Listen to, at a point, he was being spoken to as if he was such a bad person. And look at how the campaign was mobilized, even led by the regional chairman, against him. And yet, the people, it tells me that the voters, once their minds are made up, that's it.
Well, I hope that the Formina story is something that can be easily replicated across the board. But unfortunately, I don't think we can say a yes to that.
The stakes are way too high.
Yeah, Raymond, your preliminary comment on that one. What's happening in Parliament? Massive falls there.
I think some of them were expected.
Okay.
I actually believe that, and for example, I was convinced that Kabul was going to go.
Why?
History tells me that. See, I looked at the figures. The NDC in 96 got 68%, 2000 74%, 2004 62%, the year of 2008, the NDC got the NDC lost to the NPP, and Ambushdari was the person, 51%. Now, how did Samson Abu, who was supposed to be the candidate and what they call it, MP for Laura, when he went independent and split the NDC's votes, that was the chance Cabo got.
Yeah.
So when you remove the independence element, Bidzidin was unhindered. It was more difficult. And also, you see the kind of statement people were issuing there. Young people were saying that, oh, Cabo is being disrespectful and all of that. 3 of them in the run up to the election. The last one was when Benefsin's, what they call it, survey came in. He indicated that I've sent people to the constituency to do some work. The grounds are not good for Cabo. So I was not so convinced. And see, when you have to move from going against a party that had these votes played by an independent candidate, you need to do more. I was convinced he was doing more.
He was.
Yes, I was really convinced he was doing more. But I also got the impression that, well, I mean, if the trend follows and he doesn't become Ambushdari, he will certainly lose out. And that's how it ended the way it ended. I am one of those who really feels that younger people should be in parliament. I have that thinking that the more they stay in parliament, they grow in parliament, they learn better, then maybe they represent their people better with experience and all of that. I believe that some people over a certain age should not necessarily be because, see, you wear down.
This table you're shaking.
You wear down at a point in time. Every person does that. There's a reason why people have retirement ages. No, I'm not saying that they should not be there. I'm saying that when people start from a younger age, it helps out. With time, they learn more and they grow into the positions. So I like Cabo fully being in parliament. I am not excited that Bidzidin is going to replace him. I think but
he has experience as well.
I get you. I'm talking about the point where Cabo was just developing into the role where somebody has to take over.
Yeah.
And I think that was where I saw to be a bit of a problematic one.
Okay.
In Medina, I really saw Abubakar Sadiq's own as history making. You remember his role in Salaga. So it was to me one of the instances where somebody had contested elsewhere, moved to another place and won. So that was Abubakar Sadiq. But I also felt that, you see, the dynamics in the area. Now, I looked at some data that suggested that
Medina.
In Medina, it was predominantly youthful.
Yeah.
Areas that are predominantly youthful are more likely. And you see, when you have first-time voters, they are the ones who have the idealism to change the world.
Yeah.
They do not believe that they have to do as usual. They think that their vote matters more. So if you have somebody as youthful and engaging as Francis is the kind of person who will be willing to engage you on anything. Sometimes, maybe by no fault of theirs, if your opponent is a minister of state, he can reach out to resources, but the personal touch might not be there. A few people can actually descend below their rank and do this engagement. I really felt Francis was going to make some change. I didn't think it was going to be this big. Because I thought that this man has cemented his control over the area. And the dynamics really favored him until that impact came in. So he's one-term MP after moving from one other area. That's also an interesting dynamic that actually got to me.
You mean the ministry?
I'm talking. No,
moving from Salaga.
Yes, moving from Salaga to this one. Yeah. Now, you also mentioned one other person that I was pretty much interested in, the Fomena case. I will not generalize. I am for people owning their rights and sometimes insisting that all elections are based on local factors.
But that was a big risk.
I agree perfectly. See, you have to be somebody who believes so much in your convictions to put all of it against the executive president of the republic in a powerful state like Ghana.
That was massive.
You may never get a job in the state. Even in the private sector. Having contracts and all of those are dependent on governmental control to some extent. So it is a big risk. You have to be casted in the mode of the Martin Amidus of this world to be able to pursue this particular agenda. I mean, to be fair. But he did it, and I'm happy it's based on conviction. I'm happy that more people can learn from that. So that the politics of patronage and always having to toe a certain line because you've been told to do so will change.
Hopefully.
That kind of politics is is what makes us go in the direction of what they call it, corruption. Because we all have to play ball. We all have to actually act in a certain way to suit a certain greater agenda.
Yeah.
It is what defeats the thinking. And I think that increasingly, elsewhere, people believe in their convictions more than what the collective says.
True.
So they are easily able to resign. They are easily able to go against the pact thinking and actually do better. So I was feeling well in that direction. I also feel that, some people deserve to be in parliament. You might think it's controversial, but I loathe to see Felix Ofosu-Kwakye in parliament.
Oh, he didn't make it.
I wished he also had made it. I really wish he had made it.
He can try again.
Yeah.
Francis. Francis.
The electorate, the voters have become so unpredictable now.
Yeah, which is good.
Okoboy, I don't know why.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know why.
Apparently, Lejo Kuku has that characteristic.
Yes.
Apparently, it doesn't.
No, but that's a guy
it is
who
an
was,
agenda in the thinking.
Yeah,
doing
apparently
well.
it doesn't matter. So the resource person, I've forgotten her name earlier this morning. She
Dr.
lives
Nansata
there. Yes,
Yakubu.
well, she lives there, and she was saying that Golomeke, when she was there, she was easily approachable, everything, but they voted her out. So I think that it has its own characteristics.
What exactly do they want?
So she said we need to do some research into the voting pattern of Lejo Kuku.
Surprising. And look at Sam George too. I was surprised the miracle he has done now. That guy has really suffered.
Why does Raymond has that much? Okay, so this is a conversation
what do you think about that? He's done this time with such a huge, volume of votes.
I just want us to go on a very quick break.
I agree with you.
We're not done. We're not done with this conversation.
No, respectfully, okay.
Yeah, we're not done.
No, please proceed.
I am proceeding. I hope that it's been an interesting conversation for you. We brought you perspectives that gives you, thought-provoking, things to look at while we wait for the Electoral Commission to make that very declaration we're all waiting for. It is 19 minutes past 11, and we're still waiting for the Electoral Commission. Like I said, I want to hear from you. The number again is 055-111. 1111997. Okay, 1111997. This is Joy 99.7 FM. We're on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi and our affiliate across the country. Of course, we're on the Joy News channel on DSTV 421, GoTV 144, and all our social media handles. We want to hear from you. How are you doing the waiting? You're listening, of course, but while you're listening, what are you doing? Are you let's make it a bit light. You sitting in the sofa with your husband, if you're married, with your family, that's the lighter part I want us to, bring to bear.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Their lives depend on this.
I mean, some people have already started jubilating, but I want to know what you are doing. If you're praying, you can share with us as well, maybe even your Bible verse.
And the issue of the jubilation.
Yeah, it's another.
Is the reason, for example, that the President Mahama had to correct the fake news that was making the rounds. That he had conceded.
Right.
You see, so that's the tone on which he started.
Okay, I don't want us to jump
He started very unexcited.
But when we come back, I'm going to put it on our lineup. We'll talk about it as well. Right. I just want us to get more interactive and get our audience to also join in us. So you never know. We might stop someone from jumping on the street to misbehave just by sharing with us what they're doing. I want to take a very quick break. When we return, we want to hear from you. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's crowded out there, we know, but you were bold to start. Grow your startup business with free startup banking with ABSA. Yes, that's right. Your business can enjoy a cool head start during these.